Hold up. Right. Right. Yeah, wait. Oh, it hasn't finished going through yet, Todd?
No, it's
no, just for a second.
It's still going.
Yeah, it's still not. Steven Stone.
Let me know when it.
Steven Stone. Sorry for that.
All right, I think we're live.
Okay, go ahead and refresh your page now.
All right, everyone. Hey, we're so sorry for the technical difficulties here. It's been just a challenge to kind of get up, but we're up and we're very excited that you are with us. Hey, I'm Todd Sepulveda. I am the Curriculum Management Systems Coordinator for CFISD. That is a big, long title for iExplore Coordinator, but I am part of the Instructional Technology team, and we are here set up at ISC at the central office, streaming live here on YouTube to bring you some very great PD today. And so we are very excited that you can be there at home or in a coffee shop or even on the beach, right? And you are getting this great PD. So here's the thing. You are watching this on YouTube. So one of the important things for you to do is to sign into YouTube. When you sign into YouTube, you'll be able to interact with the chat. And so that's really important. So if you would right now, if you're logged in to YouTube already, if you would just go to the chat and let us know. Are in?
No.
Okay.
Not in, they're not in.
Nobody's in?
There's nobody in our chat.
Okay.
Sorry.
There we go.
Okay. Now she. Oh. Refresh it again.
There you go. We've got people coming in.
Yeah, I see it now. I see it now. Thank you. Yeah, we're in.
All right. Hey, Sandra, I see you. Thanks so much for going ahead and signing in. So this is going to be one of those things. We had a little bit of technical difficulties to get things started, but here we are. We're only 4 minutes late, really. So here's the thing. As you are coming in, we are going to be giving you a lot of great information. We're very excited that you are here. We're going to be dropping the link, the registration link for this very first professional development. Claudia from Promethean is here. She's going to be talking about ActivInspire. And so we are very excited about that. You know, we have a big Promethean implementation here in CFISD, but really Promethean is all over the place. So if you're logging in and you're watching us and you are not part of CFISD, this is still going to be very important for you and a lot of great stuff here. So again, as people are coming in, and I see that we have 20 people now, as you're coming in, will you just sign in on the chat or just let us know where you're from, you know, what campus you're from here in CFISD, or if you are from another school district, let us know, you know, what school district you're from. We'd love to welcome you, and we appreciate everybody else who joins in from really all over the world a lot of the times, because this is on Twitter and it's really promoted. We got 30 people in here. That's great. So guys, in order for you to be able to chat with us in the YouTube chat, you have to sign in. So until you do that, you won't be able to see that chat, or you won't be able to have the interface so that you can type into the chat. So one of the things that our team is doing here, we have a team, the instructional technology team is here in the room, and they're going to be dropping in the links to register it. So it's very important that you register. The registration link is going to be open for about 15 minutes, and then we cut it off. So that's really important. We always get people like, hey, I came in just a little too late and I didn't get to register. I'm like, I'm sorry. We have, you know, 4 different hours of PD here. So it's very possible for you to get 4. But if you come in a little bit late, you still get the great information, but you don't get that hour worth of PD credit. But it's open right now. The bit.ly, the link is in the chat. You can click on it. You can go register and then come right back to the YouTube video so that you can see you know, the PD that's about to get started here. I know Claudia with Promethean is getting ready to start. We got 50 people now, just about 50 people, 49, 51. There you go. And so we're getting ready to kick off. I know Claudia is probably ready, and she's ready to get going. So one of the other things, as people are coming in now and you are registering, I'm giving you a little bit of time to register. As people are coming in, one of the other things that you can do is go over to Twitter, right? So we have our Twitter handle. It is at CFISD EdTech. And you can follow us there. That way you're always aware of what's going on, what we're tweeting out, the great information. EdTech Live is going to be happening multiple times, many times throughout the year. And so you want to make sure that you're informed of that. And so, make sure that you follow us at Sci-Fair EdTech and be a part of that. But then also you can tweet us out, right? So if you want to take a screenshot of what you're seeing here on YouTube, or you want to just let us know that you're a part of it, maybe you want to tag some people in your PLN, just go over to Twitter, send out a tweet really quick and use the hashtag at CFISD EdTech Live. That would be great. We're going to have some Twitter challenges. And here's the thing. I see 63 people in, a lot of people, Christy, Carla, Cheryl, thanks for coming in. Guys, if you're coming in, let us know that you're here, what school you're from, and if you're visiting us from another school district, let us know that. We love it when people are here visiting from all over, really all over the world. But here's the thing, we're gonna have some Twitter challenges, and we have some great gifts set up. So when you do the Twitter challenges and you win, Katrina usually goes out and she delivers these. She personally delivers these. So make sure that you are getting ready for the Twitter challenges. So we will have a break between, the first session and the second session as you're signing in for the second session. And then, you can do the Twitter challenge, and it takes like 2 seconds to do it. And you can win some really great prizes. So guys, we have the bit.ly, the link that's going into the chat. If you don't see it, you can always scroll up and down, but our team that's here is dropping it in there. Make sure that you sign in. It's going to go off. We're going to close off that registration in 15 minutes, right? And so by now, probably about 10 minutes, we've got 73 people in. That's so great. Those of you that are coming in, let us know where you're from. Drop it in the YouTube chat. If you don't see the interface, you have to be signed into YouTube. All right, so I'm doing a lot of talking. I'm doing speed talking because we got started like 5 minutes late, but we're getting ready to go. I'm gonna get ready to bring Claudia in here. So glad that all of you are here. Kedrick, Denise, Brandy, Donald, Kimberly, George. Hey, welcome. We're so glad that you are here with us today on CFISD EdTech Live. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and bounce over to my Zoom window, and I'm gonna see if I have Claudia ready to come in. And all right, Claudia, are you there? Claudia, I see that you're muted.
Oh, sorry, my dog got super excited.
And you know what? I am muted too here. Claudia, are you there?
Okay.
Hey, all right, Claudia, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Hi.
And, yeah, it's good to see you. You are ready to go. You have the microphone and the Zoom, and we appreciate you being here.
Awesome. All right. Share my computer sound. All right, everyone. So hopefully everybody can hear me. Good morning. I'm so glad that y'all are joining me here. To get some tips and tricks for using ActivInspire. So this is me, I'm Claudia Nogales. That's my contact information at the bottom. Feel free to email me if you have any questions after this session is over. And I will periodically stop to get some questions from the chat. So let me tell you a little bit about me. So like I said, Claudia Nogales. Garcia, I need to add that because I recently got married. So it takes a little while to get used to changing your name. I'm an education consultant for Promethean. I'm a former Miami-Dade County public school teacher. So I live in the beautiful state of Florida, the very hot state. I have 2 beautiful girls and a sweet Bijan Frise, who you might have heard just a second ago getting all riled up because there was somebody, an extra voice in the room with me. And then, basically things I can do in my PJs like this session and reading, cooking, and watching movies. So I'm pretty much a homebody. but that's me. So let's talk about what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be going through some tips and tricks for using ActivInspire as an interactive lessons in your classroom. So if you have a Promethean product and excuse me, and you've been wanting to use it more interactively, maybe you're thinking about using it as a center for your students to rotate through. I'm going to show you a couple of things that you could use ActivInspire for, just to get started in that way. So we're going to talk about the Action Browser. Okay, we're also going to talk about creating lessons using the Action Browser. So I'll show you guys a couple of things that we could do there. There's a trick that we have called the Rub and Reveal. There's also another tool that we have called the Translucency Slider. I'll give y'all a little minute to kind of look through that to see how we can do both. And I'll show you how I created those activities. Also, there's Drag a Copy and Magic Ink. So Magic Ink is a pretty cool little tool. So I'll show you how to use that. And then I'm going to show you one of our new features with the most updated version of ActivInspire, which, the updates, if you have a license, are free. So that's pretty cool. And you can use that to create activities, which are a really neat little feature. They're kind of like a gamification of learning. So we'll go through that now. So let's get started. We're going to set up an interactive toolbar for our students to use. So one of the things that I like to tell teachers is that they can use ActivInspire as a center, like I mentioned. And one of the really cool ways to do that is to add tools to the bottom of your screen. So my students come up, they're going to select the ruler, they're going to select the pen. And notice as soon as I clicked on those icons, the ruler popped up, the pen popped up, right? Now I can rotate this, I can move this over. Let's rotate it to that. And now I can create intersecting lines, right? Let's say that I want to close that up. I'm going to click on the center of the ruler and I'm going to close it. And then I can click on this. It's going to pop up my, my protractor, and then I'm going to move that over. Let's see, let's line that up. That looks good to me. Let's move it over, and now I can measure my angle. So that's pretty neat right there. All right. Now, another really neat way to do this here is, let's say I'm trying to pick sessions for my students to come in and out. So I want to rotate them. I can click on the die. Let's say I have, 12 students in my class. I'm doing something a little different. I can do 2 die. And then I can roll that, it'll give me a number. So now student 11 can come up and work on the board, right? So all I did really to use this was click from one to the other, and then each of these tools popped up for me, right? So how did I do that? It's magic. I'm just kidding. This is actually one of my favorite things to do because you're able to put stuff on here that the students can use right away that you don't have to manage, right? And my favorite, we'll talk about this one in a minute, is the clock at the bottom. But let's talk a little bit about how we added all of these here. And then I'll show you how I added my clock here. And then I'll show you how to find it in case you just want to add it on there. So let's talk a little bit about how I got this going, okay? So how did I do that, right? I had a page that had rulers and pens and, protractors, dice at the bottom, a timer. How did I put all this stuff on the page? And by the way, which I didn't show you, if I click on the timer, it'll literally start my timer for me. So it's my counter. If I click OK, it'll launch it because I had it preset from the thing I used last. It'll be a loud cockerel here, so I'll give it a minute. One of my favorites, right? But a nice way to get everybody's attention. So let's talk a little bit about how I did that, and then I'll pause for questions, okay? So if you are not familiar with ActivInspire, this section over here in the corner is called the page browser. And the page browser basically shows you a preview of the pages. But if you look right underneath the title, there's all these little buttons. And the button that looks like a top, if you click on it, it'll show you your action browser. Now, currently, it's on the current selection, which is grayed out because I don't have anything selected. But if I click on where it says drag and drop, I can select one of these tool points and drag them and drop them right onto the page. So I'm going to switch my tool from the pen, which I was on, back to the arrow. And I'm just going to go ahead and select the pen. and I'm going to drag it and I'm going to put it right here onto the page. Now you may be asking yourselves, how did I make it bigger? So I'm just going to click around it. You see how I made an invisible lasso? And when I'm ready, I can just click on, you see how all of my handles here, these bubbles have solid bubbles, except for this one that has some line through it. I always call it the flathead screwdriver. And if you just click and hold and drag on that, you can make your pen bigger or smaller so that the students can see it. So essentially I did the same thing for the ruler, right? I brought my ruler and I did the same thing for my protractor, right? And then when I was ready, I kind of picked them up. I made them a little bit bigger. And then using my tools on the side, I move that over. So again, that invisible box, make it a little bit bigger maybe. And then I'm moving it over. So I'm going to pause for a minute before I showed you how I put the dice and the clock on there and see if anybody has questions. Any questions from the chat? All righty, I think we're good. So right now I have these two drag and drops on the side here that I just put right onto my page. Now let's talk about how did I get the dice here? So what I did was that I went out into the internet and I found a picture of a dice. And I brought that picture right onto my page. You can do a couple things. You can drag and drop. You can right copy and click here. So let me go ahead and go into the internet and let's look for a picture of dice. All right, I'm going to click on images and let's say I want to use this one here, right? I'm going to click on it and I can drag and drop. I copied it. You see how it's asking me to drop the image here. I'm just going to go back down into ActivInspire and put it right on the page. Now it's huge. So what I can do is that I can click on the corner where it says best fit, look for 25%. Shrink it so that it's a nice, decent, it's not a huge size dice here. Let's see, let's go back to my best fit and go ahead and make that a little bit smaller. Now that I have the picture of the dice here, notice when I click on it, it doesn't activate the dice. That's because I have to add an action to it. So remember when we first got in here, I clicked on current selection and it was all grayed out, right? When I click on an object, and I click on current selection under my action browser, it's going to give me all of the different actions that I can add to that object. So that's pretty neat. So I'm going to look for dice. We are, all actions are sorted alphabetically. So it makes them pretty easy to find. And when you find the action that you're looking for, in this case, dice roller, I can click on it and then select apply changes. And when I do that, it creates an action to this object. Pretty neat, right? I think so. So when you click on that, ta-da, your dice roller will pop up. All right. So I'll show this one more time because I'm going to show you how I got the clock on there. Okay. So I'm going to go back into the internet. I'm going to look for a picture of a clock. Oh, look at these. These are nice. So maybe I want to select a little timer here. Oh, I like this. Or maybe I like this one here. This funny one where it's moving around, right? And I can, again, drag and drop it, or I could just right click on the image, copy it, and put it right into my ActivInspire page. Oh, again, it's really big. So I'm going to make it smaller. Okay. Move that over. Oh, boy. Okay, here we go. All right, that's about the right size. And then again, notice how when I have an object selected, and I know it's selected because I've got these little handles here, I can click on my action browser, make sure I'm in current selection, and then look for the clock. And again, this is in alphabetical order, so it makes it very, very easy for you to find when you're under all actions, okay? So I'm gonna select that clock, and I can launch the clock as a count up or a countdown, which is my favorite. I love count up. Countdowns just make me real nervous. And I'm going to select that. I'm going to click on apply changes. And now when I click on my count up or my little clock here, it's going to launch my timer, right? So that's pretty neat. Now let's say that you maybe just want to have a timer on here and you're not necessarily sure about adding it to the pages. You just kind of want to bring it up as you're working with your students. The clock tool is pretty straightforward to find. If you click here on the side, right next to the arrow, you're going to see there's a hammer and a wrench. And a hammer and a wrench is where your tools hang out. If you forget that, there's always tools on the top right after insert on your main menu on the top, okay? So that'll get you to the same place. It's up to you where you want to go. Me, I'm so used to going here on the side, so that's where I'm going to click. All right, when I click on that, I'm going to look for a clock. You see how I don't see a picture of a clock? And that's because it's hiding under more tools. We have so many tools, we need a second menu. So under more tools, look for the clock, select it, and there's your clock. Okay, you can show analog and digital, analog, count down or count up. And once you click on those, you'll get your timer. All right, let's take a second here and see if we have any extra questions. Any questions from the chat? Okay. Want to make sure we're all okay and being able to hear me and not have any questions. I must be doing a really good job explaining. All right. So one of the really cool ways to get stuff on here is to drag and drop from that action menu on the top. Hi, do we have questions?
Hey, Claudia, I just wanted to let you know there's no questions.
Awesome. Okay. Wow, I'm doing such a great job. No questions. All right. Thank you. All right. So rub and reveal is one of my other favorite things here. I'll show you how that works. So when you have, let's say, for example, you're working with your students and you want to label things, you want them to come up to the board. Again, I always think of these, Promethean panels, Promethean boards, whatever you're working with, as great centers. So let's say I have my students come up here. I'm going to select the eraser, the pen, I'm sorry. They're going to come in and they're going to write, oh, this is Asia or Europe. Let's say they write Europe. And part of my writing here, I'm doing that with a marker. Oh boy, let's just pretend I wrote Europe here. You can grab the eraser and then self-correct. So let's see. Oh, that student would have been incorrect. That was not Europe, that was Asia. And let's say another student comes here and there's Europe, right? And let's see, what's that, Antarctica? Oh boy. Let's see, what do we have here? Africa. So that's actually pretty neat. So, how did I do that? How did I do that? So I always say rub and reveal is kind of like playing ninja on your page, right? You're hiding things in the background. So what I did was that I put a picture, okay? And I hid it behind a white pen mark. See? You see it? No, you don't. You see it? No, you don't. Pretty cool little trick. So let's practice that here in the bottom. I'm just going to select the pen. I always make my pen width pretty thick so that I don't waste time whiting out. And then I choose the same color of the background. So if the background was blue, I would choose blue. If the background was gray, I would choose gray. But in this case, our background is white. So I'm going to choose white. And now I can come in and I can white out all of these words. See, now the students don't know that's back there, right? They think there's nothing there when they write their answer. But when it's time to self-correct and they choose the eraser, it'll erase the words that are on the page. So how did I do this? I just copied and pasted, like I showed y'all, pictures of the pages on the top. I'm sorry, of the images right on the top of the page. And then using my T for text tool, I just typed in the words. Okay. And then I just went over them with a white pen. Another neat thing that you could do here is that you can bring images that are already pre-labeled and then erase the labels, right? So if you're working with the students and you're working on the different parts of, a fruit-bearing tree, you can do that, or a plant in this case. This is a vine. Tomatoes are vine. But you can see how that comes in and then it's hidden. So it's a really cool way to have information onto the page, but not let the students see it. So that's why I call it the ninja, because you're blending in the background, right? So copying and pasting pictures over, putting them on there, and then using the same color as the background to white them out. Pretty cool little trick. I call it digital whiteout also. I have all these names for things. So like I said, I went ahead and I grabbed the pictures. I hit the labels behind it. If you teach science, this is a great tool. If you have animal cells, or maybe you're talking about parts of a cell, so your ribosomes, your oh gosh, I'm always terrible with these things. But your DNA, all of the things that make up the part of a cell, you can have that on there. Very cool way to put that if you're doing atoms. So very, very easy to do. Does anybody have any questions about how I did that? Okay, awesome. I'm going to take silence as a no. So let's move on to the next tool that we have, which is the translucency slider. Oh, go ahead.
Hi, Claudia. Thank you. We have a couple questions that we would like you to answer.
Absolutely.
Wait. Oh, there she goes. Okay, beautiful. Okay. One of the questions was, can you explain the clock again, how you got the clock?
Sure. So I'll show you both ways of how I got the clock. So if you want to add the clock to a picture, you can bring in the picture, select the object, right? Up on the top here, you have your browser. Now, if y'all close out your browser, your page is going to look like this. There's not going to be a browser on there, which happens often. So what you can do is that you can click here where it says view up on your menu options and look for browser. And when you do that, the action browser, all of your browser will pop up. So remember, the action is the one that looks like the top that you spin, right? Because it's an action object, okay? And when you click on that, you can look through all your actions. Again, they're going to be in alphabetical order. You can select clock for your options and then apply that right onto the action so that when you click on the object, the action of the counter comes up. Now, if you don't want to do that and you just want to get a regular timer here, that's also fine. You can click on either your hammer and your wrench, which is right next to your arrow on your main toolbox. And that will bring up all of the tools that we have available. But you see, there's no picture of a clock yet. So you have to click on where it says more tools, and there's your clock right there. Okay. And then double arrow down on the corner will count down. Double arrow up on the corner will count up. Now, if you don't remember that your tools are the hammer and the wrench, not a big deal. Like I said, right next to insert on your main menu options, there's tools. So again, we don't see it on the first menu. So we have to go into more tools to look for the clock. And ta-da, there's your clock again. All right, I hope that answered your questions. Any other questions?
Yes, Claudia, thank you for that. That was great. One more thing, Claudia, they were asking, how can you add the clear annotations to the flip chart? So, to clear the annotations, can you add that to the flip chart?
To clear annotations quickly?
Correct.
Okay, yeah. So you would need an object because if you click on the action browser, clear annotations doesn't come up right away. What you would be able to do is reset, which would clear any annotations that you had quickly. So let's say, for example, I clicked on my pen and I wrote over these images here, right? So that's basically like annotating, all right? And let's say I wanted to reset it to what it looked like before I made those changes. I can click on reset page. Oh, excuse me. It would be helpful if I went back to the arrows. So note to self here, everyone. If you want to move stuff around, make sure you're on the arrow. So let me make that a little bit bigger so y'all can see it. And let's move that over. And then this reset will go back to what the page looked like before you saved it. So before I saved it, I didn't have those white pen marks over that. I can click on that and then it would quickly clear any of the changes that I made, including annotation. But if you wanted to do a quick clear annotations from here, right, like this one that we have inside of the spray bottle, you would have to go into, you'd have to select an object, click on your current selections, and then you would look for clear annotation. Again, all of your action browsers, items here under all actions are in alphabetical order. So let's say that I wanted to use that Australia picture to clear my annotations. If I click on that and select apply, when I click on Australia, it'll clear any of the annotations that I had on there. So here, let me show you on another page. Let me reset that. Let's see, let's put a picture of a little spray bottle. Oops. All right. All right. I love colorful ones, so that's the one I'm going to go with. And I'm going to copy that image. Okay. Or again, you could just drag it and drop it right back into your page. Now, again, it's huge. So excuse me for a minute while I go to Best Fit and make my page a little bit smaller so I could shrink my object here. All right, let me move that over. Let me go back to Best Fit so everybody can see. So again, I just picked an object that looked like what I had before I did it with Australia, but maybe this will be a little bit easier. So again, in my browser, select Action Browser, look for Clear Annotations, which again is in alphabetical order. Once I click on Clear Annotations, I'm going to do Apply Changes. And when I do that, you see how there's a little play button when I hover over it. If I write some stuff here, I'm going to, oops, let me put a bright color you guys can see. Let's say I draw some stuff here, a little happy face, because it's Saturday and we're happy to be here. And when I click on Clear Annotations, right away it clears my annotations. So I hope that was a good example. Any other questions?
Hi, Claudia. Thank
Yes,
you
ma'am.
for showing all those things. We do have one more question. Thank you so much. Yes, we want to go ahead and we have a question about, can you show how to enter math formula symbols and equations from another web source?
How to what? I'm so sorry.
No worries. Can you show how to enter math formula symbols and equations from another web source?
How to enter maps, like coordinate planes?
Sorry, math. I know I didn't enunciate that well. Math.
No, that's okay. It's hard to hear. I'm sorry. Math. Okay.
Math
Well,
formulas from another web source.
so math formulas from another web source. It depends, because if they're web-based, you can always do a link to a web-based math formula. The best way to insert stuff here, like formulas, is to use our formula tool. So if you click here where it says insert and you select equations, and you click on it, it'll give you our equation editor where you can create equations to insert here. But bringing in equations and like interactive tools into ActivInspire is not necessarily something that we support at the moment. I know you can hyperlink from here, not a problem. And you can also use your equation editor. Now, excuse me, because my math is not super advanced. So if you click here, you can enter formulas like long division, which I'm very familiar with. And if you click OK, you can insert those here, and then it creates the equation for you. Obviously, if you're looking into more complex math, you have some tools here. You could do cosines, subscript, superscript. You have all these other math tools that math teachers always get super excited about, and I am not 100% sure how to use. But they're great because you can create equations with them here and then bring them into, into the class for your students to use. So you would be able to add some stuff here and then make your equations. So that's one way you could put equations, tools on here. As far as integrating stuff from another web page, the only way I could think of it is to add hyperlinks to the web page. And then work live from the web page. But inside of ActivInspire, you can embed other math programs. I hope that makes sense. Do you want to see how to add a hyperlink? I could show you that. So hyperlinking is pretty straightforward. You go into insert where we went for equation editor, and you select link, and then you select the website, and then you just copy and paste or type in the website that you want. So let's see. Okay, and then you can either add it as text, which would give you the link in a hyperlink form, the text in a hyperlink form, or you can add an image icon. Usually that's what I do. And when you click on OK, it adds this image icon, which will tell you that that's going to take you to the internet. So if I click on that, it'll take me directly into a web page. Okay. Any other questions?
Okay. Thank you, Claudia. I think this is good for now. We appreciate it.
Of course. No, I'm super happy to answer all the questions. Super pumped about that. So translucency slider is a tool I want to show you. I love translucency slider. It's a really quick way to kind of put stuff on the page and hide it. I'm all about hiding stuff. I don't know why. I just think it just looks real cool when you do it. So when you click on the object, you're going to get the menu for the object on the top, and there's going to be a sun. When I click on the sun and I slide it to the side, it makes the picture less dense. So little by little, it makes it invisible, which is pretty neat if you ask me. So if I want to hide stuff behind here, I'm going to ask my students, okay, guys, what is this? And they're going to say Asia. And I'm going to say, oh, you were right. That is Asia. Awesome. So how did I do that? Very easy. The very first thing I did was that I put the the text onto the page, and then I added the picture. Now, why did I put the text before I added the picture? That's because I want to hide the text, okay, behind the picture here, right? So I have North America and that here. So let's do it on a blank page so you guys can see. So I'm going to control copy. Oh, actually, let's start with the text. I'm going to select the text and I'm going to do control copy, or you can click on the menu options here and select copy. I'm going to go into that blank page I have here and I'm going to paste that on there, right? So there's my North America. I'm going to go back into this page here for a moment. I'm going to control copy and I'm going to put that right on the page. Okay. And now notice that it comes in over that. And that's because ActivInspire works on layers. Essentially, think of them as like books that you're stacking on top of each other, right? The first item that comes in is at the bottom, and then the next item that comes in stacks on top of it, right? Like maybe cards that you're putting down if you're playing cards with your friends. If you put one card on top of the other, right, the next card that comes in lays on top of that. And then little by little, you have stacks. So in order to hide stuff, the first thing, or the thing that I want to hide, has to come in first. And then I can add my object. And now when I click on it, I can reveal what's underneath. Now let's say that you're building the page and you're like, oh my goodness, I put this after I put in the picture. Not a big deal. You can always click on what you'd like to hide and look for send backward or send bring forward, which is the little tree in front of the page, the little tree behind the page, right? If I click on send backwards, it's going to send it backwards until it hides behind my picture. See, still there, but I sent it to hide behind my picture. Another cool thing that you can do with the translucency slider is that you can click on it and hide things underneath it, like a skeleton. I was talking with the science department and they wanted to show erosion, right, or weathering. And so we took pictures of coastlines and we did coastlines from, years ago till now to show the difference of erosion. Also, if you're using, coastal pictures, you can show, weathering, like what happened in the Bahamas. You can show a picture of, Baco Island before and how it looks now after the hurricane. So, there's different things that you can do to use a translucency slider to kind of hide and show to students what things look like before and after, or just to hide, answers on the page. Any questions?
Claudia, no, we don't have any questions at this time. Just continue. You're doing a great job. Thank you.
Awesome. Oh, thank you very much. All right. So drag a copy is one of these things I like. It allows you to take something and then drag it multiple continuous copies of that object onto the page. So Let's say that we're doing patterns with our students. They could be letter patterns, they could be shape patterns here, right? So I'd be talking with my students. I'd say, okay, guys, let's see. We have a square, a green square, a blue triangle, a red arrow, and then we start now with the green square. So if my students were to come up to the page and pick that up, then I lose my ability to create the pattern continuously. So a quick way to do that is just to click on it, select your menu option here, and then look for drag a copy. Now, once I select drag a copy, what's going to happen is that I'm going to continuously be able to drag copies from that one object. Another way to get to drag a copy is to right click, select, drag a copy, and then drag a copy. So click on it, right? Choose the drop down menu and select drag a copy, or right click and it automatically opens that menu option and select drag a copy. So pretty cool. I always tell teachers you can use this to create a classroom store where you put a picture of an item. You have different currency at the bottom, some coins, some dollars, right? You want the students to pay for that with a $5 bill and then make change with the coins at the bottom, right? So if you grab a picture from the internet, like I did for the other action items before, you can add the drag a copy to it and then create different things. I've also used this for a word bank where I've added drag a copy to the word bank, and then my last student to come up, it's not as easy to figure out the answer as all of my other students because not all the words are gone. So that's pretty neat too. I want to show this really fast. I love the idea of making 10 frames, especially for my younger learners. So I wanted to show my students the addition here. And so what I did was that I found a 10 frame and I copied and pasted it onto here. I added, some text here. I changed the color, so that my students know that the 3 is going to be yellow, the 10 is going to be red. And then my students can come up and drag the copy here. And again, this is one of those tricks I really love to share. All I did to create those dots was that I selected the pen. I chose the color red. And then I made it the thickest width possible so that when I click on the page, it gives me a dot. See, quick way to get dots on here. But let's go back to this. So just right click again, drag a copy, and now my students can build their 10 frame. So it's just a cool little way to get some stuff on here. Some examples that I think are helpful when you're thinking of that. Another way of dragging a copy here is to click up on top. Remember the browser? We went to the action browser, which was the top. So the one right next to it looks like a media, a little like movie clacker, and with a little barred eighth note here. If you click on that, it's your resource browser, and you have a bunch of shared resources here. So let's click on the shared resources, and I'm going to look for activities and templates here. And let's say that I want to work with my students on the hundreds activities right here. So you see how I have these already set up, right? Let me go into a blank page. I can just select it and then drag it and drop it right in here. So that's another way to get stuff on here, drag a copy. Okay. So I'm going to pause for a minute since I showed drag a copy. Any questions on dragging a copy? Or any other questions?
I ask her if there's a free version.
Claudia, we do have a quick question that pertains to whether or not that there's a free copy of ActivInspire.
There's a professional version, which gives you all the bells and whistles. And there is a free copy that doesn't, there's like a trial that doesn't require a license or a key. So yes, there's a free option, but it won't include all of the products that I'm showing you here. So it's like a light version of ActivInspire. But yes, there is a free version that you can get. Absolutely. It's on our website. Yeah. All right. So Magic Ink is where I'm going to go next. Magic Ink is pretty neat. I kind of mentioned layers before when we were talking about hiding things behind other things. Magic Ink lives on our very top layer. So let me show you how Magic Ink works, okay? If you click on the tools and look for Magic Ink and you click and hold over the page, it'll reveal things that are underneath. So it's a pretty cool little trick, right? It's a little different than the translucency slider because not everything disappears, right? And you're able to do it with objects, which is pretty neat. So before I showed you how to hide things behind pen marks, but I don't know about you, I definitely cannot draw a map of the boroughs in New York. So this definitely makes it a very cool little way to do that. So think of a volcano, and then you have the inside of the volcano. On top of it, you have the outside of the volcano, and then you erase it using Magic Ink to see behind it. So cool little trick. So how did I do that? Let me show you one more example, and then I'll show you how I did it. So again, what I did here is that I added the action to the picture, kind of like what we did in the beginning with the spray bottle, right? I went into my action browser. When I click on this picture here and I erase, I can show, right? What's the unfamiliar word here? Thwart, signal, okay. Word for punctuation, okay. And now here we have the question, right? So my unknown word was thwart. How did we know what it was? Okay, so for instance, was the signal that let us know. And then here the enemy did not realize what was happening. So their forces became confused and frustrated. So you see here we have our information and then we have our definition. So it's a very cool way to kind of hide stuff, not just with pictures, but with pictures of pictures. So just something to think about, right? So how did I put this here? How did I set this up so that we can hide objects behind here? So I'll just show you on this page. Let me reset it. What I did was, let me go back to my pen. I clicked on the page and I put some, the different boroughs of New York on there, right? And then I brought in my image to lay on top, right? Let me reset. All right. And then having the image on top of it is not enough. You actually need to move the image into the top layer. So first page, like I said in the browser, shows you your page browser. The second one shows you your resources, which is where we went for that drag and drop. Then the next one shows you some notes. And then the one right before the action browser where we added and dragged and dropped all the actions is where you can see some property information, right? But where we want to go here, it kind of looks like a kite string, right? Is where all of the objects on the page are shown. So this image here would originally come in the middle, but I'm going to move it to the top so that I could use Magic Ink. Magic Ink only works on the top. So this is a little bit more of an advanced tool, but I just wanted to show it because I love it so much. You can just move it from the middle layer into the top layer, and then you can erase it. So that would work with anything. So if I were to take the text here and move it to the top, come over to my tools and select Magic Ink, and then erase, it would erase everything that's on the top, including the text. So it's just about moving it through layers. If this is a little advanced, no worries. I know that today's kind of like a quick overview, but we definitely have some videos to support you guys on how to use this. So if it was a little complicated today, not a big deal. You can always reach out to me, or you can always look for our videos, and we have something directly related to Magic Ink. But it's a cool little tool. I always like to show it. So if you're a more advanced user, hopefully that was something that worked for you. Any questions here on Magic Ink?
Yes, yeah. Claudia, I think we pretty much have it, and it's been an excellent presentation. And I know that we're wrapping things up, and we know that also we have your presentation. So we really enjoyed this.
Awesome. Are we out of time, or do I have time to show one more thing?
Yes, we're pretty much out of time, but if it's
okay,
quick, you can do that.
Okay, it's very quick. So if you get the new version of ActivInspire, we have something called activities. All right, and I'll show you what they are. They're very cool. There are ways to put games on here. Like you see, we have 10 different types. of activities. You can build them and then launch them without having to go into the internet. I have something here called a 2 times table, so like a review for the students. Okay, so give me just a minute. It's loading for me. There it is. And when it loads, oh, I got over ambitious here. I click twice. I can just click on let's play and I can match my problems to my solutions, right? So if the answer is incorrect, it'll kick it back. If it's correct, it'll keep it in the place. And they're very, very quick to build. All you're gonna do is click here where it says view. You're gonna click on the dashboard and then you would click on activities and you would choose the activity that you wanted. I did matching. And then you just fill in all of the different items. So like I had here, 2 times 0 is 0. And then you would continue every time you type in a new field, it would add it for you. You can save it and then you can play it. So that's basically what I did here. I'm going to click on don't save. I just created a quick activity. Now notice there's different activity types. And again, if you want to know more about any of these things, you can always click on our different sites that we have here. I know they're going to share this with you, but our PrometheanWorld.com Learn, which is our blog, it'll give you all the videos. And also we have an academy where you can kind of work at your own pace. Because I know this is very, very quick. You know, follow us on Twitter at Learn Promethean. We're always putting tips and tricks and tools on how to use this stuff. And I thank you guys for hanging out with me today. Hopefully that wasn't too much of your time. And thank you for spending time with us on a Saturday, you know, learning on some new stuff here. So I'm going to stop sharing and then I'll let you guys wrap up if you want. So thank you again. Thank you so much. Any other questions, by the way?
Hey, Claudia. No, I think things went really, really well. Everyone seems to have really enjoyed the presentation. So, hey, can we have you back again real soon?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because you know we have the Promethean implementation here in CFISD. We have a lot of people that are online as well. I know that was really good about the freemium version of the ActivInspire, but you know we have a lot of teachers here in CFISD who are wanting to know more about ActivInspire. So, you know, we've been doing a great job, but whenever someone can come on like this, this is great. So we really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. You have a great rest of your Saturday.
All right. You too. You too.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. Hey, guys, I want to remind you, you know, as Claudia was going, and it might be a little fast, this video, CFISD EdTech Live, is going to stay on YouTube, right? So all the other previous CFISD EdTech Lives that we've done, they're on YouTube as well. So one of the things that you can do is you can like our YouTube channel, and that way you can always have access to them and you know that they're there. So we have plenty of other EdTech Lives that are there that you can go check out. But the great thing about video is that you can always rewind it, go back and view it, and all that good stuff. All right, guys, so we're going to go ahead and move on. Here's one of the cool things. This is the time when we're doing our CFISD Twitter challenge, right? So if you go to Twitter and you search out at CFISD EdTech, that is our Twitter handle, or you do the hashtag at CFISD EdTech Live, you will see the Twitter challenge. And so you get a chance to go ahead and do that. We're going to have a little bit of a break, maybe about 6 minutes here. And in between that time, do the Twitter challenge, maybe go get yourself something quick to drink, and then also register for the next session, right? You want to register for the next session and you want to come back. That's only going to be open for 15 minutes and then it's going to shut down. The first session was open. We left that open just a little bit longer because of the technical difficulties, but we're going to go ahead and leave that open a little bit longer. So again, CFISD EdTech Live hashtag for the Twitter challenge, for our first Twitter challenge. There's some great gifts. You want to be in on that. So make sure you go over to Twitter and you check that out. I'm going to play a little bit of cool music for you and some video to get us through the break. And then we're going to have Kevin in with WeVideo. He's going to talk to us a little bit about WeVideo. And we're really excited about that. So just hang in there. We're going to be coming back here in about 5-6 minutes with some more great PD. Thanks for being with us. All right, everyone, we are back. I hope you enjoyed that quick little break to get everything settled. You got some something to drink. Hopefully you went and did that Twitter chat and you registered. Remember that registration is only going to be open for 15 minutes. So it's been about 5-6 minutes already. So about 9-10 more minutes to register. Make sure you register. Come on back. One of the questions it was about the certificate and about the credit. That is not going to be awarded today. That is going to be awarded next week. And so just FYI, I know in the past we have immediately sent out certificates and immediately awarded credit. We are going to be doing that next week. So just, hold tight. It will be there. We promise it will be there. All right. So remember, I hope you're joining us in the chat. There's a lot of great information there. And so in order to chat with us on YouTube, you need to be signed in. And so we have a lot of great things going on there, and we're able to click live on links and all that good stuff. All right, so we are getting ready to move into our next session. We have Kevin, who's going to be talking to us a little bit about WeVideo. I'm going to go ahead and bring him in. All right. Kevin, are you there? Well, we got to unmute you there.
I'm here.
There you go. All right. Hey, Kevin. All right, man. So I'm going to let you take it away and wow us with a little bit of WeVideo.
All right. Okay, can everybody see me? Let me double check to make sure that I shared my screen with the audio connected. And hold on one second.
I see visual, yes, and audio.
I'm trying to make sure that I can't see, now that I'm sharing my screen, I can't see my my window, my browser window. This is really embarrassing, y'all. Hold on one second. Oh my goodness. Okay, let me try this one more time. I'm having technical difficulties. It's locking me out of everything else once I share my screen.
Hey, Kevin, are you sharing out the whole desktop, or are you just sharing out one specific?
I'm on my Chromebook, and for whatever reason, it is asking me to share the entire screen or the application window. There it is. Maybe that'll work. Okay, you see it now?
There you go. You're good.
Okay, so we got it figured out. This is the first time I've run it from a Chromebook, so it was weird. Okay, so yeah, this is WeVideo for beginners, and hopefully we won't have any more interruptions at this point. My name is Kevin Stoliker, and I am from a small town south of Houston called Angleton, Texas. You may have driven to it if you've ever been to the beach. I am a teacher in Conroe ISD at the award-winning Washington Junior High. This is my 4th year. It's my 13th year teaching. It's my 4th year as the technology lab instructor, and I'm also a level 1 Google educator. I discovered WeVideo a few years ago at TCEA in Austin, and started using it to produce videos that I did for our student broadcast, and it was just a hobby at the time. But as the more I got into learning WeVideo, the more I realized what a great educational tool it was. And so as I was working on my master's degree over the last couple of years, I've put a real emphasis on creativity, and I've used video a lot to pursue those goals. So some of my passions, we have to cultivate creativity our creative thinking in our kids, because I think the way that we teach now, or the structure of education with standardized testing, it kind of kills that at an early age, and we have to build it back up. And WeVideo is a great tool because it helps to scaffold that. You can do some things where the students don't have to have an immense background in creative arts in order to use this. So the other thing is why does video matter? For multiple ways, it can enhance instruction and be a creative outlet. It helps with multimodal learning for students who would benefit from audio visuals, the way that they would not be able to learn from a traditional sit and get lecture. It gives students a chance to use their voice when they create, and I have some student examples of that, and it's engaging. I think that one of the biggest points that we can do when we're talking about teaching is that if kids are learning, if they're having fun, they're learning more. So like I said, I discovered WeVideo at TCEA a few years ago, and it was like I was using Microsoft Movie Maker in order to make videos that I was doing for our student broadcast. And I walked into this room and I saw the ability that WeVideo had, and it completely changed my thinking about how I should be approaching these videos. WeVideo is awesome because it's cloud-based and it can be used from a Chromebook, which I'm doing now because my laptop at home could not connect to the internet. Students can collaborate, and I'm going to show you guys a little bit about what that looks like when students collaborate across WeVideo here in just a few minutes. It integrates with Google Drive, and it runs seamlessly on a Chromebook. And there's a huge media library on there that you can access video clips and sound clips and graphics and things like that for any sort of projects. It has a free trial for teachers. If you're in CFISD, ISD, though, you have a full license. And guys, it's incredibly easy to use. I think what I want to go ahead and do now is I'm going to exit out of my presentation, and I'm going to jump into my WeVideo dashboard. Give it a second to come up. This is what a teacher dashboard looks like, and there's some of the projects that we're working on. I said earlier that I started using WeVideo to make components for the broadcast, but at the time I wasn't really involved in the broadcast other than producing a segment for it every 2 weeks. And now I am the broadcast teacher on my campus, so we use WeVideo every single day to create the student broadcast that we air on Thursdays. It goes out across our campus, and then it's available online for teachers and parents and things like that. So this is what the teacher version dashboard looks like. There's a couple of different things that you will take note of. You can start a new edit, a new video project right away. You have some of your recent edits. Over here on the left, you have the time that you've used to render, and then the storage that you've used up in terms of files that you've uploaded. One of the things that I do with my student broadcaster students is that they film things with their phones, because they can upload their videos that they filmed with their phones to their Google Drive on the Wi-Fi at school, and then they can open up a Chromebook and those files are right there for them in their Google Drive. So across the top here, you have dashboard, your projects, your media, your exports, templates, and things like that. I'm going to click on the projects tab. And I'm going to be very cautious about this because I can't go any further in here, but then you would see my student names and their email addresses. But if I were to click on this or the admin button, I could go and look at those students and what they've created. I can go, you have the power to go in and render any projects that they have finished. So let's say that a student finished a project on Friday but didn't have a chance to send it to the cloud in order to be rendered into a full video. Then I can go in and do those things. And as the the editor-in-chief of our news broadcast, I find myself having to do that. So it's a great feature. But here under news segments, there is all the segments that we have created for the news, and then it will show you who was the last person to edit it. So as long as a student creates their video under this project, then any other student in the class can go in and collaborate with them. And now what will do is while you're working on it, it will lock it so that you're the only one that's working on it at a time. And then if somebody else goes in and changes something, it will show the last person to make a change. So there's, you may get yourself into a situation where a student accidentally changes something about another student's project, but it's easy to keep track of those things with the administration tools that they give you. But I want to show you a little bit about how to get started with WeVideo and how to use the platform, because it is excellent. I'm going to go ahead and create a blank edit from here. And then WeVideo has several different formats you can choose from. You can choose your either from 16:9 horizontal, 16:9 vertical. You can choose 1:1 square video. So this is giving me the option to create this in my projects or news segments. So I'm not gonna share this with my students. So I'm just gonna create this in my project. And I'm gonna start editing. The first thing that you will notice when you open it up is the pictures here in the middle. This is the star tab is all of the stock files that WeVideo has. So this one, just search the C and you get a bunch of different options. If you click on any one of these, you will see it will play in the preview window. So the other tabs that are here at the top are for your media, which I have a bunch probably in the media folder, probably from events that I've gone to film. And I'm going to use some of those to show you examples here in a few minutes. You have the text tab, which will allow you to do different types of text. There are several different motion text, motion graphics that you decide what goes in the text, and then it will automatically animate what you want it to be. There we go. And then you also have the sound or audio tab. You have a transitions tab, and then you have a graphics tab. And this is really, really helpful. If you're using a green screen, you can insert these graphics as the screen behind you. All right, so let's get started building a video. And I'm going to go back to my media. And I have some old files. These will work out well. This will allow me to show you not only how to insert graphics and sounds and things like that, but then also to show you how the green screen capability works. So the way that WeVideo works for editing is you have these different track layers, and you start off with one audio layer and two video layers, and then you can add as many as you want to. I'm going to use this picture of the Alamo as my background image or my layer image 1. If you're using a still photo like this one of the Alamo, then you can grab that still photo and you can actually stretch it out to be as long as you want it to be. So if you wanted to have something in front of it for an extended period of time, that still image can actually be your background for the entirety of your presentation if you wanted to. I want to do something interesting with the Alamo, and I want to put some dinosaurs like Jurassic Park style in front of the Alamo. And so you will notice that that when I put this in here, it's just green. and there is a dinosaur, but he is up against a green screen, and then here comes some other dinosaurs. What I want to do is I'm going to show you what that looks like. Okay, now can you guys hear my audio? Did you guys hear the dinosaur roar?
Hey, Kevin, I think I did. I think it was really low though.
Okay, it might have come through my microphone then. So let me double check. Real quick that I'm sharing my my screen that's sharing the audio too. It's not giving me that option.
So when you hit the share button, there should be a little checkbox on the very bottom left-hand corner.
See, it's not giving me that on the Chrome extension. Okay, let me cancel one more time. Okay, well, we'll just have to see what we can do anyway. All right, I'm gonna go back into it.
Sounds good. It might come through your mic. It'll be fine.
Okay, so when you get ready to edit any sort of video clip, you can click on the video clip and you can do a number of things. You can decide whether or not you want to zoom it in and out with the transform tab. You can change the audio on it if you would like to. You can change its animation, which means you can start it at one point and stop it at another. You can change the color of it the same way that you would change it like on an Instagram filter. And then you have this wonderful, marvelous, awesome color keying tool. And I'm going to zoom back in all the way here. So the color key tool is very, very simple. You grab the dropper and you can come over here to the preview window and you find a spot that you want to remove that color. And once you select that color, that green goes away. Now, if I accept those changes, I go back and I look at the video again. I now have dinosaurs at the Alamo. Now, I want you to take a look at this next part. Is that second dinosaur is kind of floating in space there, and there's a really, really easy fix for problems that you have like this. The editing tool for WeVideo is very, very simple and easy to use because you can essentially just track movement and you can actually zoom in so that the frames are larger. You get more control over it. If you look at the tracking marker here, it says 11:16. That is 11 seconds in and 16 frames in that 11th second. So each second is divided into 24 frames. And so as you click through it, you can be very, very specific where you splice your video. So now that the T-Rex is off the screen, I choose a spot to cut this, and now it's made it into two video clips. Now together, they are one seamless clip as long as they are still touching. But now I have this Triceratops running through, and I want to make it look like she is actually running on the ground. It's very simple. You can go back and use the same tools as you used before. You don't have to color key it again because you color keyed it when it was part of the original video. And then over here in your preview window, you would just drag and drop her down. And now she is running on the surface of the grass. Once you save changes, you can go back and play the whole thing over again. Okay. So that's the basics of putting a video in, or putting images into WeVideo, and then we can start to build off of that. If you would like to add text, let's say we want to add text to this little project, we could click on and add a new video track. We would click, we can rename this if we want to make sure that we know that this is going to be the text level. We can click OK. Let's say that we want an introduction to put the text at the beginning. We can drag this, the dinosaur footage down a little bit, and then we can go back to the beginning and we can insert our text here. So let's go to the text tab. And there are a couple of really good ones. A lot of these ones up here are available strictly for the educator license. If you go down to the bottom, starting, actually they're probably all mixed in. Some of these are available in the regular WeVideo license. I have both, but they're all available in the educator tab. So let's say that we want to select this motion text. We want to add it to our screen. And we're going to click and drag that into our text bar. And then we double click on it and then we can edit it. Okay, so here in the editing section, we can change the color of the text and color of the line feature. We can also change the font of the text, and they have a lot of different and unique fonts available, including one that looks a lot like Star Wars. And then you can also change the size. Now it's set up to be optimal when you start it, but you can change that. So I'm going to go with dinosaurs as my main text, and my secondary text I'm going to put at the Alamo. And that Alamo text seems a little faint. So I'm going to go ahead and change it to something a little bit more bold. And I want to change that line to something like green. So we think dinosaurs, we think green. I'm going to save that change. And then now, depending on where you want to put that, you can go ahead and start your playback back up, and you will get dynamic text on screen. Now it doesn't quite sound right yet, so let's think about some audio to add to it, because we want something to give depth to our dinosaurs. So we can either go to the audio tab, and you can look through some of the things that they have in that tab, but also in the star tab, you can search things like you can search any term really, and it would give you some examples of it. So I want to search the word creepy in audio, and they have creepy music. That actually sounds pretty perfect. So if I drag creepy down here, and I want to, you can also control the volume right here with the volume tool in the sidebar. You can also control the levels by the fade options. So like if you create, you drop an audio file in, you can decide how it fades in and out. But then also you have a very specific way to do it using the anchors on the actual sound wave itself. You can click on here and you can add. If you click on here and you can add a new. Let me get to where I can click on it a little bit better. So show levels, and there you go. you can decide that you want to start this at a very, very low volume, and then you want for it to get louder over the course of a couple of seconds. And then you can add another one at some point and fade it down. There it goes. And you want it to be loud at that point, and then you want it to fade back down so that it's not overly loud. So if you play that all together, now, if you were to go and render this as a video, let me zoom out of the levels. You would end up with 30 seconds of video and then over 3 minutes of sound footage with an empty blank screen. Changing all of that stuff is made very, very simple by using the bar here. All you have to do is grab a hold of the end, and you can slide it back to where you want it to end at. So instead of just cutting and deleting, which you have the option of cutting it and deleting it too, then you can actually just drag it to where you want to be. If you wanted to add any other types of effects, or you wanted to add any other videos, obviously you can add more layers to it. You can, if you wanted to do something like, let's say our dinosaur, we wanted to change our dinosaur a little bit, you can go into great detail with things like the color, and you can change if you wanted that dinosaur to be a red dinosaur, a blue dinosaur, purple dinosaur. It doesn't matter. Once you do the color keying of the green screen, you get to it changes what you're able to do, and so we can have a different color dinosaur if we wanted to. I've had students who have created videos where they put themselves in the green screen and then they change themselves and look like an alien with this feature, because that's a lot of fun for kids to do. So let's say, I'm going to stop for a second. Does anybody have any questions? I'm really, really just into WeVideo, so I can talk about it forever.
No, Kevin, we are loving what you're doing, man. But there's no questions right now. A lot of people are very excited about it. So no, just keep doing what you're doing.
Okay. So if you get to the point where you are finished and you have watched the whole video in your preview window and you're satisfied with it, the next thing to do would be to finish it. And I'm going to rename my video now as Dinos at the Alamo, and then I am going to go and click the finish button. The finish button means that this is going to take my video from a low definition preview and create a higher definition finished version. And that's one of the things that it's hard to tell with this picture of the Alamo here that this is low definition, because this is a massive file that I pulled to use the Alamo, so it's an extremely good picture. You can kind of tell when you look at the dinosaurs. The dinosaurs, like they're kind of blurry on the screen. When you see that in your preview window over here, there's no reason to worry about that, because it's previewed in low definition so that it can work faster. You have to remember that this is cloud-based software, so this is it's using the internet to connect A and B together, and it shows you this in low definition so that it can allow you to work at a faster speed. But once you finish it, once you click on the finish button, you can actually download, or you can render this as a video with audio or as audio only. WeVideo recently added this in the last couple of months, and it's a really, really big help because in my broadcast booth, although I have microphones, it's in a portable building, and I have a really, really loud air conditioner system. And so anytime I or one of my students makes a video, you can hear the hum of the air conditioner like under them talking or in their pauses. And so what I do for them is once they've created the video, they render it audio only. And they usually do this if it's without the sound effects and stuff that they want to add. The first thing they do is they render their video audio only, and then I will put it into a program like Audacity, and I will remove like the hum of the AC and stuff like that, so that it's clear. I think if you work with kids long enough, especially work with kids doing videos, the thing that you will find the most challenging is getting them to speak up and project their voice onto the screen, and so or into the camera. So audio, especially of young kids talking, can be hard to do. And if you have access to Audacity, that's a free download, and it's really easy to amplify sound and remove background noise. But anyway, you can do audio only, and then you can do video with audio, and you can also change from standard definition to HD. If you have a teacher license, you get high definition video from this. If you have a regular license, I do believe now they have up to 4K quality with a regular license. I have a teacher's license to use with my broadcast students, and then I have a regular license because I make my own YouTube videos, and I will show you a link to some of those in a few minutes. You can also tell your video where to go once it's done. It will automatically give you the option to download it when it is finished rendering. But let's say that I want to add it to my Google Drive. I just highlight my Google Drive, and then I could also say, I want you to go ahead and post this to YouTube. My YouTube account is not connected to this one, but I could put it in Dropbox. I could put it in Vimeo, any of those services there. As long as you connect it, it's directly ready to go. And then I'm just going to click export. Through the magic of WeVideo, and the biggest reason that sold me on switching from like Microsoft Movie Maker to this was that when I would do a video in Microsoft Movie Maker, it would take a really, really long time, hours for it to render. And that's because it was using every available bit of RAM on my laptop in order to do that. Now, it's not my computer doing the work. And with WeVideo, there's some supercomputer in California somewhere that is processing what you've requested and will render it. Now, it still will take a few minutes. This is a 33-second video, and it's still going to take a few minutes to render, but it's just way better than anything that I could do on my own like home personal computer. When your video is done rendering, it is available for you here in the Exports tab. And so these are the videos that my students have created. We have different segments in our news broadcast for upcoming spring events. We have sport highlights events. There's a football game here. There's a cross country meet here. We do a thing called Get to Know Our Bulldog Family, where different teachers do an interview and they insert graphics and stuff like that. They've even done videos on the dangers of vaping, and one of my students made a really, really excellent tribute to September 11th, because actually all of the students that I have in 7th and 8th grade now were not born yet on September 11th, 2001. So he made that to educate them. Let me show you, because the cross country meet is an after school event, and it is so it's a public event. There's no harm in showing you this. This is a video that the students went out and filmed. They went out and filmed for like after school during a cross country meet, and then they used WeVideo to edit it together. And even the song that's attached to it is part of the WeVideo stock footage. You also have the options of displaying this full HD. So for our news broadcast purposes, this makes it, the WeVideo makes this really, really simple. And then even something like the football promo, which I can show you, is all graphics that is available on WeVideo, and then the students just take those graphics, layer them together, and then add text and sound. So I'll play this one as well. So there's a number of different things that you can do with WeVideo. Before we run out of time, I want to go back and talk about a couple of things. Let me click the print button here again. Some of the things, and like I said, I could talk about this all day, and I would love to connect with anybody that wants to connect, and my contact information will be at the end. So some things to remember. You can layer as much as you want to achieve the graphic or the look that you want. You can do multiple sounds or audio layers as well. A lot of times when I record a video in the studio, I have to take the video, render the audio, add the audio back in, and then just mute the video track that the audio was on. But then you can layer background music below that as well. You can import files easily from your Google Drive, and you can save your rendered videos there. That's super great because students can show their work to their parents from any computer in the world. If it's there on their Google Drive, they can show it to them from their phone. Projects save, and I always call it automagically, the same way that they would in a Google Drive document. So there's, once you add a video or you add text, you do not have to go in and click the save button. If something happens and you get booted off the system, or you lose power or whatever, it would still be there when you logged back in. And then there are a ton of different green screen activities that make really, really fun things to do in the classroom with your kids, and there's a number of ways that you can do them. You can have the kids take the reins and produce the entire video after you've shown them, I guess, a little bit like what I've shown you, which is what I did with my broadcast students. I essentially showed them this same presentation and just let them start building a knowledge on their own, and then they can take the green screen and they can do some pretty amazing stuff with it. I have a video, and this is a YouTube version of it, but this video is also on the WeVideo Educators tab at wevideo.com, and it's my top 7 things to use use a green screen in the classroom. So I'm going to play this. The 2 children featured in this video are my own children. They came and helped me put this together for a presentation I did in the spring.
Okay. So yeah, that's some great things to do with green screen in a classroom. I have another presentation. It's called Going Green, Maximizing WeVideo with a Green Screen. Some of the stuff that I talk about in here is in this presentation. If you want to access it later, you can. There's a lot more. Videos, examples of ones that I have made. There are some examples of instructional videos that I've made. This is an instructional video that I've made where it's nothing but WeVideo clips. And then these are some student examples that my kids created, including end of the year thank you video to teachers and some other things. If you need anything about how to use WeVideo, I even have a Getting Started with WeVideo tutorial there as well. And a place where you can find all of the dinosaur and other green screen videos. But for now, does anybody have any questions, or is there anything else that I can jump in and point out?
How are we going to push those out?
Oh, I don't hear him. Hi, Kevin. Can
Yes,
you
are
hear?
you still?
Yes,
Yes.
we're still here. We want to thank you so much for this great presentations, and we appreciate all the resources and the things that you're going to allow teachers and all of us to do. So I think we're going to wrap it up, but we would love to have you back and join us and everything. So thank you for your resources and your presentation, and we'll reload that in our chat. Y'all just remember that in our chat, if you have questions, to go ahead and put them in there. And I know Manny was fielding a lot of it, but at this time. So thank you, Kevin, so much for coming today.
Oh, no problem. Thank you for having me.
All right, Kevin, thanks so much, man, again. And everyone, Kevin was talking about his presentation, and he was talking about some of the things that he was sharing out. And so we will have those for you in the chat. So you can go ahead and click on those links and you will get those. So there you go. Hey, guys, listen up. We are going to have a little bit of a break here. So we're going to break from this time to our next session. We have EquatIO coming up, and we're really excited about that. And so remember, we're going to be dropping the bit.ly, the link for the next session, so that you can register, so that you can get PD credit. We're going to be dropping that into the YouTube channel. Make sure that you sign in and you register. That way you get credit. We do take that, close down that registration after a certain amount of time. So just remember that we do that. In between this time, so you have about, it looks like 13 minutes. Remember that we're doing Twitter chats. So here we go. Twitter chat number 2, or sorry, Twitter challenge number 2 is at CFISD EdTech Live. So you can go over there and check it out. I'm telling you, some people are getting some great prizes because of the Twitter challenge number 1. But here we go. We're giving you another challenge, Twitter challenge number 2. So if you go over to at CFISD EdTech, or you go to the hashtag CFISD EdTech Live, you will see that Twitter challenge, and you can go ahead and participate in that and have that opportunity to win some great prizes. So we're going to take a little bit of a break. I'm going to share some cool music and some great video with other information. The bit.ly will be in the chat so that you can go ahead and register. Take care of yourself, get some water, get something to drink, and make sure that you are ready for our next session. All right, guys, so we will go ahead and go from there. Thanks so much. We'll see you just in a few.
You were like watching on your phone and then answering questions? Yes, I was answering all the questions. Look at you.
All right, everyone, we are back. Thanks so much for hanging out with us throughout the break. Hey, I hope you registered for this next session. Remember, the link is in the YouTube chat. And so you can go ahead and click on that. Make sure you register. We're going to be shutting down registration in about 10 to 15 minutes. So make sure you register. Come back here to hear more about EquatIO, which we are getting ready to start right now. I did see a lot of great Twitter challenges out there, a lot of great things that are going on. So let me go ahead and bring in Janae and Michelle. They're going to be talking to us about EquatIO. So let me go ahead and move Janae over. There you go. Hey, Janae, how are you? Can you? I can hear you. I think we're coming on, getting the video going here. There you go.
Hello. Hi.
Hey, guys. All right. Hey, we are ready for you to talk to us a little bit about EquatIO. So go ahead and take it away.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everybody. I am Janae Johnson. Share? No, I think we need to share that real quick. Okay, we'll go back 1 second. Share. There we go. I got you. Okay, let's try that again. Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Janae Johnson, and
I am Michelle Skronik.
I am a secondary math curriculum coach here at CFISD.
And I am an Algebra 1 teacher at Cypress Park High School, also in CFISD.
Yeah. And we just want to share some ins and outs of EquatIO. I'm going to do more of the teacher side. So we're going to first look at the different basics, how you can use it in Microsoft and Google. And then Michelle's going to get into the good stuff, how you can use it with your students in the classroom. So the first thing, we want to just really give you a quick info on what EquatIO is. And it's basically just an online, it's through Text Help. And I'm actually part of the Text Help Titans, and that's where I'm part of a group, hope to get Michelle in there soon, where we can actually give feedback to the company, and we get really cool updates that we can share with our teachers. But Text Help is the company for EquatIO, and it's basically a online, and also you can use it desktop with Microsoft, but it's a way that teachers and students can input math equations, because for a long time, it was very hard to do that online. But with EquatIO, we can put in equations, formulas, graphs, and it's not just for math. It also can be used for science, chemistry. So the first thing I want to show you is how you want to gain access. So first thing, when you go to Google, and you want to add the application to use it online, you go to your web store, and you can search for your extensions. So you can search for EquatIO. And as you can see it here, I already have it, but if you don't, you would have install or add to your Google extensions. Once you add it, it's going to show up here at the top. You can use that with Google Forms, Google Docs, Google Spreadsheets, Google Slides. So you can pretty much use it with any Google application. When you want to actually get it from Microsoft, you would, there we go. I like to go down here and search. So you can go to your Microsoft App Store. Now, it pulls up automatically in CFISD. Is that what happened for you whenever you went?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so it'll give you all of the applications that you can use in CFISD already. And as you can see, EquatIO is located here. So once you open that, I already have it installed, but you can install it. And I would also recommend that you pin to start. So pin it to your toolbar here at the bottom. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how you can actually use it. I'm going to start with Microsoft first. With Microsoft Word, right now it's just the capabilities are for desktop. So I'm just going to open up a blank one. And since I've saved EquatIO to my toolbar, I'm just going to click this little blue icon down here. Now what's cool about this is, yes, us math teachers have math type, but I'm going to be honest with you, I feel like EquatIO is math type on steroids.
It's a little bit more user friendly, I think.
Yes, that too. And so you can also, again, it's great for science teachers because if they don't have the math type, then they can use this function. There's different options here that you can check and make sure. You want to make sure, like, for example, this one, the math options, you can change a different font size of the equation. You can also check, you want to make sure for your prediction that you have the formulas and math checked. If you're science, you want to make sure the chemistry is checked off. And honestly, you have these same functions as you would have on the online version. The only difference is here, I'll show you this in the Google, but it's basically just typing in a formula. You can also insert a graph and it connects to Desmos, so you can do that as well. And then when you want to close it, you just close it. I want to actually go to Google and show you more of the functions that you can do in actual Google. So in Google, I am going to, I want to get to a new doc. And in every Google application, minus the Google Forms, all you have to do is click the little blue diamond up at top to open up your EquatIO. And you will see the exact same toolbar here at the bottom that you saw with Microsoft Word. You still have your options that you can choose. Again, you want to make sure that you have all of these predictions turned on, and you want to make sure all of your toolbars turned on as well. So to get into some of the functions, the first one I want to talk about is the equation editor. Now, as you can see, this is slightly different. So in Word, all you had was the plain box where you can type. Here we have, these are actual 2 new updates. So I can just start typing in a fraction. I'm just going to do, and look what happened. That's the cool thing about this, they have the predicting. So as soon as you start typing, it'll predict what you want to say. So I want 1/2. And then normally it would just give you, anytime you try to do like a letter, it'll show it as a variable, so it's italicized. But here, this is a new thing. You can actually click the T for insert text, and then I can type in a word and it'll come out as text instead of math. So then I can insert, and it pops into your document. Again, this function is the exact same as if you were in Word. The only difference is with Word, you won't have the text because you already have that function in that document. You can actually go and change colors. Now, if you notice I went down, you can't quite see this. This piece right here, you can increase or decrease that. Or you can also just hit that again and it'll clear that out. So let's say I have an equation. Oh, let's try that with an equal instead. And then, well, you know, I'm gonna change this up. Let's say that I have, 15. And I wanna show steps for the students. So I could then shift enter, takes me to the next line. And then I want to show that I'm going to subtract the 3, but I want to put it in a color. So you would highlight, oops, just this piece. and then I can change that to a color. So that way the students can now see that I am subtracting the 3 from one side, moving it to the other. So that's just how you can use the color text. The next thing I want to show you is I insert an equation. And let's say that I, made a mistake. I want to change that equation. I meant that to be 4x plus 2. So I can actually click on it, hit edit math, and it'll pop up. I could change what I want, and then click on insert, and it changed it for me. So now you don't have to retype. It'll literally just edit it for you. That's the basics in equation editor. The next one I want to show you is speech input. Excuse me. Sorry. Speech input, it operates pretty much the same way as handwriting. The only difference is you can say the equation. So y squared plus 3 equals, well, no, I don't want to do that. Let's try this one. Y equals 2x plus 3. Sorry, there I go. And as you see, it put it right here. I can then just, no worries, you can take it down, put it to the next one. But with the speech, it actually says the equation. There used to be an update. Let me see if it worked. 1/2 plus 3. And now I want to keep talking. Okay, so you want to be careful because you see how it's picking up my words. So you want to make sure that you hit pause because it does sometimes pick up that actual text. The other one is handwriting. It works the exact same way. Same tools, you can change the color. The only difference is you can write in your equation and it will pick it up and then you just hit insert. Same function. The other tool I want to show you is the graph editor. What's cool about this is it's attached to Desmos. And Desmos, if you don't know, is a great math tool. You can create graphs, create different activities for the students. They're very interactive. They even have a calculator on there, the actual math calculator, scientific. But you can also insert any graph. So let's say that I'm creating an assignment, and I'm just going to give them just the basic linear function, and I'm going to insert that graph. That's so cool. And you know what's cool about this? What I really like about this is when you do this in Word, like before we had to use a totally different program just to insert a graph. But in Word, I can do it right there. If I made a mistake, you can click back on it and edit the graph. Like it's really simple.
Or even copy paste and then even faster.
Yes, so you can even copy and paste it. Thanks, Michelle. So but what I like is you could send this to like your students as an assignment and maybe have a question that says, now take this graph and create a linear function that has a negative y-intercept. So they could literally then just take this, you could put it in Google Classroom, they can make their own copy, but then they can click on the graph and hit edit. And then actually, you want a negative y-intercept, and then insert. And see what happens? It literally changed that graph. Like that's so powerful because now you can even see what this, you knew what the before was. Now you could have them just copy that, like you said, and put that below the original so you can see the two, but that's very powerful. Another one of my favorite features Again, I'm showing y'all just the basics. It can do very high advanced math. But another thing I want to show you is I love the math space. Have you used math space yet?
Not a whole lot,
Okay.
but I do love things that are available in there.
So math space. Oh, well, give me a second. It allows you to literally insert pictures. There's a different option. Right now, I like the blank screen, but you can change that screen by going to options, space options. And then right here where it says style background, you can click and do squared. Now I like, ooh, I don't remember seeing that color. You can change that? Is that new? Okay, let me play with this one quick second. Because if y'all know me, I love color. So let's see. Oh, that's so new. Okay, so, but for this one, I'm going to keep it blank. Oh my gosh, it's exciting. But we're just going to keep it at white. So let me just, oh, thanks, Michelle.
No problem.
And with the squared paper, because I want to show you is, what's cool about the squared paper is when you draw a graph or draw a picture, you can use this as your lines to make sure that you're keeping all your shapes or you like your number lines straight. So that's a positive here. They have regular shapes that you could include, and they have tons of shapes. But the ones that I really like are the interactive shapes. So they call the smart shapes. I can literally create a fraction circle. I love it.
If I did more with fractions, I would use them. But.
I so love this. So you can change the color of your of what you want the actual shades to be. You can even change the line. But then over here off to the side, you can change like how many number of segments you want. So let's say that I want to go up to 8. So it automatically changed that. And since I didn't change the number of shaded, it kept it how it was before, 5. But like I could literally keep this empty. So I could have a circle of 8s, right? And then I can go and create another circle. And over here, I only want 2 segments. And then 2. And then I want, again, this to be empty, right? And then let's say I create one more. And then I want this to be 4s. Y'all might know where I'm going with this. And I'm going to keep all these empty. So that way, when I actually go, you hit insert math, or my fault, insert is up here. It'll put your pictures in here. And I could have an assignment and ask the students, look at each one of these fraction circles. And I want you to shade in the equivalent pieces. So then they could literally just go back, click on it, edit math, and then they can start shading. So if I'm dealing with 8s, I'm going to shade just 1 for my half. Oh wait, it changed it on me. Here we go. Thank you. A fraction circle.
There we go.
See, that's why it's good to have a partner next to
Yes.
you. So I just want to have 1 shaded, and then the students can literally go through and shade in each one. And then when they insert it, it will update. Okay. That's a really quick demonstration of the basics. I'm going to go ahead at the end of this presentation. You're going to receive a link to I've created a Google site, and it's got all these different tips and tricks. It's a live site, so I get to actually update it throughout the year. But that way you can see what more things that you can do with EquatIO. But right now I'm going to pass it to Michelle so she can talk to you more about what the students would see.
Hey, Janae, can I just break in really quick. There was a question that someone had in the chat, and they were asking, how did you have that second line that was red and when you said -3?
Okay. So what the way that I did that was, let me go back. One tab to the left. I got you, Michelle. I'm gonna X out of this one. Here I go. The way that I do that is, so like, I'm just gonna edit this one real quick. You hit Shift and Enter to take you to the next line. And then I can type in the next line. So in this case, I want the -3. And then you just highlight what you want to color and then hit the color, the text color, and choose. And it changes that for you. Does that answer the question?
I think so. I think so. Thanks for doing that. You got a lot of people excited about math and EquatIO here on the chat.
Sweet. Good. Thanks.
All right, so like Janae said, I am going to now talk about the student side and how you as a teacher can use this with your students, because we all know that EquatIO is great for us. It makes our lives easier as teachers, but we want to now share this amazingness with our students. So is EquatIO the magical solution to all of our teacher problems? I want to say yes, because there's so many great benefits to using EquatIO. And so obviously it promotes collaboration among our students, especially in classrooms that aren't one-to-one. You can pair your students up with devices, and they have that discussion in person and collaborate on how to demonstrate their understanding. But it also has great integration with Google, as Janae showed you. So anything in that G Suite, slides, documents, all of that, you can upload into Google Classroom and promote digital collaboration as well. You have increased engagement because it's new to students. It seems to be that every time that we put a laptop or something digital in front of them, they just naturally want to play around with it, figure out what's going on, and problem solve from there. Even if they don't necessarily know what it is at the beginning, they'll figure it out eventually. Our students are so awesome like that. And then my favorite is that EquatIO helps promote a paperless classroom. So I find myself carrying home less papers at night. It's easy to grade because of that integration with Google Classroom. And then most importantly, my biggest weakness is giving prompt feedback to students. And so when I can have all of these things digital and integrate them with Google Classroom, I can quickly provide that feedback to my students. But does that mean that these things automatically happen just because you started using EquatIO? And unfortunately, the answer is absolutely not. So we have to be purposeful about how we integrate EquatIO into our classrooms. And so here is where I want to give you some starting points. So all of those benefits that I listed are absolutely possible with EquatIO, as long as we start with the right things. So the biggest thing that we always want to start with is our content standards, regardless. We know that we have a responsibility to teach our content, teach our standards, and the technology is an add-on. It's something that is there to enhance the learning, but it doesn't take the place of that. So make sure that whenever we design our lessons, we're focusing on our content first. That helps us determine a feature of EquatIO to focus on. So all of those pieces that Janae showed, the handwriting, the equation editor, the graphs, can help emphasize our learning or display or demonstrate our understanding. But we also just don't want to add technology for the sake of adding technology to something. Otherwise, you find yourself spending more of the class period teaching the tool rather than teaching the content itself. So always keep your content and standards at the beginning of your lesson or at the beginning of your mind when you're designing that lesson. The next thing that you want to consider is the students that you personally have. This will help determine how you implement this in your classroom. Every classroom is different, every class period is different. So even if you're a secondary teacher, how you roll it out with your second period may be completely different than how you roll it out with your fifth period, and that's okay. And then last but not least, You want to consider your personal teaching style and what your own goals are for you as a teacher. My personal goals are completely different than my partner teacher because I am a tech person. And so I see myself using EquatIO in a whole bunch of different ways, and she is more hesitant. So my goal for using EquatIO in my classroom is going to look different, and that's okay. But it also allows me to get more creative than my partner teacher. So that's okay too. But just make sure that you know where you want to go with that.
Good point.
So after you identify the content that you want to teach, we can start beginning to design our activities. Now, quick disclaimer, reminder that I am a math content person, and particularly my experience has been in secondary math. So the examples that I have on this slide are going to be ones that are secondary math focused. But hopefully these kind of give you a broad idea of how you can tweak these for your own classroom and content. So, like I said, after you identify your content, this helps you design your activity for students to demonstrate their understanding. And my biggest tip is to start small, making sure that you focus on only one feature of EquatIO so that your students aren't overwhelmed with the different options of how to demonstrate their understanding. Limiting them at first, but then allowing them to demonstrate in multiple ways. So to begin with, one of my favorite features is the graphs. And so teaching them how to insert equations, inserting graphs and then also editing them like Janae said. But then there's another feature that I will show you that allows students to manipulate different features of equations with sliders. And I'll pull up the examples at the end of this discussion in just a second. But I love the sliders in graphs because it helps demonstrate cause and effect relationships. So one of our standards in algebra is for students to understand how changing this piece of the equation will affect the graph or how it will affect the function altogether. And so these sliders can help students get a more concrete example of that. It also allows you to reach a higher level of blooms or higher level of rigor by having students create, but it still has that self-check in there so that students feel comfortable stepping out of that comfort zone. And then another example that I'm going to be showing is handwriting. Teaching students to start with single line of handwriting, and then eventually moving on to an assignment where they learn how to demonstrate or show multiple lines, like Janae was showing with the editor. So the multiple lines is helpful for when you're trying to demonstrate processes, multiple steps, or even solving equations. So a couple examples here. If I wanted to teach my students, like I said, the parent functions, I created an assignment in Google Slides where they can focus on linear transformations or even later on, quadratic transformations. This is the first time Janae gets to see it, so I get a live reaction. So here I have my students think about what would happen when I change the linear parent function, the slope of that to a value that's greater than 1. So I would want them to click on the graph, and let me open EquatIO here. There we go. And I want them to edit this. And again, this is a graph that I had already inserted into the assignment. And the way that I set this up is I put in the linear parent function y equals mx. I left out the plus b, the slope, or I'm sorry, the y-intercept for a reason. And then what I did, let's back up here. So what I typed in is y equals mx. And if I take this out, you'll see that it shows up with an option to add slider. So I click on M, and what that does is it adds a sliding scale so that I can change my M value, and it shows students how changing M affects their graph. And so for that particular slide I was working on, it said change M to a value greater than 1. So let's pick a value greater than 1. And I can insert the graph. Maybe.
Let's see.
It disappeared.
I'm thinking on you.
It might be thinking. The other thing is that when there's a lot of traffic going on
Yes.
on your internet, it will slow things down a minute. All right.
I want to try it again.
We'll try that again. Yeah. So edit. All right.
Should just.
And insert. All right. Well, even if that doesn't load, oh, you know why? That's because we're in a view only mode right now.
Okay, good. Okay.
So had I logged into this from my own personal account, we're using Janae's right now. Had I logged into this using or enabled students to edit this themselves, they would be able to insert it and see the graph that they created inserted as well.
Do you want to show them how to do your syncing with your account?
Yes.
And then go back and show how you can insert
Yeah,
that?
so let's do that. We're gonna skip ahead real quick. One of the things, one of the trial and error pieces that I found using this in my own classroom was that students were getting ready to do an assignment with EquatIO, but they didn't see the actual EquatIO icon show up here in the top right. And we know that inside FAIR, it's automatically pushed to our student devices, but the problem is that it wasn't showing up. And I found out through trial and error that it's because our students were not logged into the Chrome browser. So if I back up a second, students using Chromebooks are automatically logged into their Chrome, to the Chrome browser. But because the devices in my classroom were Windows devices, they also had to separately log into their, into Chrome whenever they opened it. So I'm gonna log Janae out real quick and show you how to log in. So I want this one, the J. And I'm gonna sign her out real quick. Turn off the syncing. There we go. All right, so I am going to now log in.
And you want to make sure that was the sync button?
Yes.
You hit, okay.
Yeah. All right. Ooh. Here we go. All right, so quickly I'll type in my email, my account.
And again, this is how the students will make sure they get their full functions, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So they log in with their student account, their password, and the most important part that we found out the hard way was this pop-up window that you see right here where it says link your Chrome data to this account. Our students are so awesome that they think of this as saving their passwords. And so my students were like, oh, I don't want to do that. Click cancel. But when we found out, when you hit cancel, that doesn't add in all of the Google extensions. So we do want to link our data in this case in order for all of my extensions to pop up here. So if we give it a second to load, you'll see all of my settings load and then eventually my extensions. And while we're waiting for that to load up, I will pull open that presentation again. So let me get back there.
And it does take a minute depending on how many extensions you have.
Yes, yeah. The more settings you have, the more it takes to find them.
See, it just popped up right there.
Yes. All right, so if I go back to,
Oh, well, we don't need Bitmoji.
Yeah, we don't need Bitmoji right now. All right, so if I go back to that sliders example. And again, more time for it to load.
I think a little bit faster too.
All right, so now I can open EquatIO and edit this. There we go. All right, so my student has now created a slope greater than 1. They insert it. And it adds in. So now
Yay.
You can see the original parent function. They can also see how their graph, their value changed the function, and then they can respond with a verbal description as well. And so again, I have more of that for all of the different features and even a quadratic side. So changing the A value and then their vertex
That
values.
is awesome.
So, yeah. The other feature that I have here is just your simple handwriting recognition that I wanted to demonstrate with my students. And so here I have them taking these table of values, writing the linear equation in slope-intercept form, changing it to point slope form, and then manipulating that to standard form. Here, let's say if I wanted to insert this equation, this one ends up being y equals 2x plus 1. They can choose how they wanted to demonstrate that, whether it's handwriting or typing. Oops. And the really nice thing that I've gotten as far as student feedback goes is no matter how sloppy your handwriting is, it does a decent job of picking things up. But in this case, mine was even way too sloppy for that. So we will redo that. All right, so y equals 2x plus 1. So even though my 2 wasn't even complete, it still recognized that I was trying to make a 2, which is pretty neat.
I like that, yeah.
So, all right, I can insert that.
Especially with, I mean, I love our babies, but especially with our kids' handwriting.
Yes,
So it's good, it picks it up.
All right, and then I'm going to minimize this real quick. There we go. All right, so there it inserted their equation. They can do the same thing for point slope form. But some of our students, I've even gotten the question, well, why would I want to do this EquatIO when I could just quickly type y equals 2x plus 1? And so that's when I created this next example. So this next example has a non-whole number slope.
Okay.
So when they would go to write this equation, I want to say, let's see, this one was, oh gosh, 1/2 x. Ooh, I don't think so. It was supposed to be 1/2 x plus 1.
Okay.
So that first line did not work out. But if they wanted to type in a fraction, my challenge to them was, well, how would you type that in with just your basic keyboard functions? And a lot of them would say, well, this, well, that doesn't really look like how we write a fraction. So that is how our EquatIO helps us. So if I wanted to either type or use the handwriting, y equals 1/2, gotta clear that out, y equals 1/2 x. All I did for typing was just the 1/2. So it's awesome that that even predicted that.
Yes.
Y equals 1/2 x plus 1, and then insert from there. So showing them, this assignment was designed to show them, there we go, just the usefulness of the different features and how to get them comfortable with that. And like I said, my next step would probably be showing them how to use multiple lines, like in solving equations or processes. All right, so moving on, after you've designed your activities, you want to focus on how you would introduce this with your students. And there's a couple options that I would suggest here. Your biggest option is to roll this out with all of your students at one time. It's nice in the sense that you ideally get all of your students exposed at one time. You get this pure discovery mode where as students are figuring things out, you hear across the room, oh, and that's kind of the most rewarding feeling as a teacher, is hearing that like light bulb go off. You get the option for peer assistance. So your students, if you have, that awesome classroom culture, they tend to jump in and help each other out, like, oh, look what I found out happens. And they learn from each other.
This is the best way to learn.
Absolutely. And then you also, as a teacher, get to learn who your techie kids are. And so that can come into your advantage later on.
Yeah.
and we'll talk about that. Disadvantages that I found with rolling this out with all of your students at one time is that you have to manage your students that are on different levels, not just academically on different levels, but also your students who are different levels of comfort with technology. And so when you've got one person who's way far ahead on step 67 and you've got a kid who's struggling back here on step 3, it can be difficult to keep them all on one level. You also have the chance of students never engaging, and this can particularly come into play if you have a classroom that's not one-to-one. So if you have students sharing a device, a lot of your shyer students, the ones that don't feel comfortable, won't ever actually get involved or learn how to use that EquatIO. So the other side of that is to roll this out into small groups. Some advantages of this are that you're able to answer your questions immediately. You aren't running around the classroom. You have your students right there, and so they can ask you and get quick feedback. It's easier to keep your students on task and on the same page. And then you also get to individually get to know your students. But the disadvantage with that is that you have a chance of your students disengaging when they're not in the small group with you. So you, if you're sitting down with a group, you don't necessarily know what Johnny's doing across the classroom. But on the other side is that you also have to have another activity for those students to complete. So if you're doing an assessment there with your students, you'd also have to have either a paper copy or an alternate activity for those students. And so that takes a lot of prep up front for the teacher. So is there one particularly best way? I can't say. It's all up to you and knowing your students.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, how you roll it out with second period is going to be different than third period. So that's okay too. So this is where, this is my favorite part. I call it Tales from the Trenches. Also, I wanted to title this Pro Tips, but I don't consider myself a professional. So this is things that I've learned from getting in there and getting it through the nitty gritty. So one of my biggest things that I've learned is to create an anchor chart with your frequently asked questions. And the most important thing to keep on that anchor chart is to remind students how to log into the Chrome browser and select that linked data, just like I demonstrated earlier. Otherwise, that EquatIO extension won't show up.
Right.
How to open the EquatIO toolbar, how to hide it after they've inserted something, and then how to edit something that's already been inserted. Another tip that I would suggest is to have policies and procedures in place for when we're working with EquatIO is to ask 3 before me. That's a personal favorite in my classroom. So the first thing that my students know to consult is their anchor chart with those frequently asked questions, look in their ISN or notebook for anything that's content related, but then also to ask their peers for assistance before they even come to me. It just kind of minimizes the directions that I'm pulled in. And so again, I can focus on the content, not on the tool. So earlier I mentioned when you learn about your students, when you introduce this, you kind of pick up on who your techie kids are. And so that is where they come in to help you. You can designate them as your helpers anytime that you do an activity with EquatIO. I've seen some really cool things in elementary where they put up a little poster with the students' pictures that said this is your helper of the day. In secondary, we tend to do things a little more laid back. So I've also seen like lanyards that light up, kind of like blingy, and the kids get into it. So, but then also as a teacher, a good procedure for yourself is to train yourself with, to respond with, you know what, I don't know, let's try it and see what happens.
And that's the best way to learn, I feel.
Yes, yes. Don't jump in and just give them the answer. Let them struggle. It's healthy, and be there to guide them and be there to reassure them that mistakes are fixable. So, and then my last tip is kind of what I was just talking about is when you are answering questions, it's okay for you to not know the answer. And I think that's helpful because it demonstrates to our students that we are human. And it shows them the growth mindset that we want them to achieve. And so you can model discovering things together, how to problem solve, going through trial and error, but also research skills. So reaching out to others when you aren't sure, knowing that others are there to help you. My favorite thing is to also scaffold with your students, just like you would with content related questions, is to kind of pretend that you don't know the answer and help them guide them to the answer. Oh, what is it that you wanted to do? You wanted to insert, or I'm sorry, you wanted to put a graph in here. Well, what's another word for put in? Oh, insert. So maybe if I click insert, that'll help. So kind of guiding them there without just, oh yeah, you just got to press this button. Yeah. So, and modeling it through a think aloud would be great too. So I believe that's about it for our time. Perfectly. So the last thing that we wanted to share with you is just some resources. Here on the screen at the top is our bit.ly for this presentation, so you have access to all of the links that we've included. And then Janae, if you wanted to kind of share the others.
The first one, the help sheet, that is, I have it on the site, but I also just gave it as a regular link here. This help sheet actually has all the different predicting words, vocab that they have for the science and math. The EquatIO YouTube page has been very helpful. Like, they have tons of videos. So if you need help on a tool, that can help. And then this resource site is just that site that I was explaining earlier. But I think that's it for us.
That's it for us.
Yes.
All right, guys, that was great. I got to tell you, a lot of people are excited in the chat. They were wanting the your presentation even before you were finished because there was so much great stuff here. Hey, Michelle, I got to say, I appreciate you reminding us that, you know, great technology without pedagogy is just a lot of noise. And so all the things that you were talking about there are so important for all of us when we're talking about educational technology, instructional technology, getting those things. We don't want to just throw out little web apps and you know, cool things out there. It makes a big difference when you use it correctly. And wow, I mean, you really hit it on the mark. So great job on that. We really appreciate it. Both y'all did that. Great job. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So I think you need to stop sharing your screen there so that I can kind of take over. There you go. All right, ladies, thank you so much. Y'all have a great Saturday. All right, everyone. Well, we are here towards the end, and we have one more great presentation. Courtney is going to be coming in and sharing with us Google Sites. And this is going to be great, right? Because this has recently been opened up for secondary students here in CFISD. And then, of course, teachers, you have that available as well. And so you're going to learn a lot of tips and tricks and a lot of great things. So that is coming up. We have about 13 minutes before we get to that point right there. So we have a little bit of time to go get something to drink, take care of yourself, make sure that you are registering for the next for this next section by clicking on the bit.ly that we are putting into the YouTube chat. And so remember, you can also scroll up and down, right? So you can, if you want to go back and get the presentation, if you want to, you know, the link has already moved up off the page, you can always scroll up and do that. Hey, one thing I want to say about the YouTube, while you're there, can we get a little bit of love on YouTube? Because I'm noticing we've had over 100 people logged in. Can we get some likes? Can we get like 100 likes there? You know, that would be so great. And then make sure that you subscribe to our channel, because like video is so powerful. All the things that we've been learning today, you can always go back and review them. And so make sure that you subscribe to our channel. All right, so make sure that you register for the next one. I'm going to talk to you really quickly here as well as you go, and you're taking care of yourself. You're doing, you know, you're registering, you're doing all that kind of stuff. We have another Twitter challenge, but this one is a Twitter poll. All right, so here you go. So you want to go to @CFISD EdTech. That is our Twitter handle. You want to make sure that you are following us, and you want to go ahead and do this Twitter poll. So that is, Katrina's going to be putting that up. It's already up there, I think, already. And so you can go ahead and interact with that Twitter poll. So that will be part of our Twitter challenge, this Twitter poll. So we hope that you're doing that as well. Hey, don't forget to maybe tag some of your friends, and maybe they can come in on this last session. All right, so I'm going to play some really cool music and another video for you while we transition to this next session, and I hope you're ready for it because this is going to be a good one. We have Courtney coming up with Google Sites. All right, thanks. We'll see you in a few. All right, everyone, we are back for our last session. I hope you have registered. If you haven't, the registration link is in the YouTube chat, and our team will be putting it back in there so you can link to it, or you can just very easily scroll up and click on that link and register, right? So we are going to be kicking it off here with Courtney, who's going to be talking to us about Google Sites and sharing all of her great information. So I'm going to go ahead and stop yapping right here, and I'm going to go ahead and bring her in. There you go. Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on just a second. There you go. All right. Hey, Courtney, how are you?
Hi, good. How are you?
Really great. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you, and you can take it away.
Okay. Hi, my name is Courtney. I am a teacher at Salyards Middle School. And I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to share with you a little bit about Google Sites today. And I am going to share my screen with you. So the really great thing about Google Sites, all teachers in Sci-Fair have access to Google Sites, and now all 6th through 12th grade students also have access to Google Sites. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how you can use it in the classroom and how our students can use them as well. As we're getting started, I have a video for you that walks us through just how to set them up, how to get to them, and some of the tools that you can use when you are there. So I'm going to play that for you first, and then I'll come back and I'll share some examples and how you can use it.
Hey there, everybody. This is Jeff Bradbury from TeacherCast Educational Network with a brand new TeacherCast screencast tutorial. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the brand new Google Sites. I guess we shouldn't even be calling them new Google Sites. They've been around for the last couple years. Either way, today we're going to be talking about how to create a basic website. We're going to be creating this basic website. I'm going to show you how to change the header, add some text, add an image, embed some Google Docs. We're going to talk a little bit about sharing settings, and of course, we're going to round off with how do you publish. So stick around, and if you like this video, please hit the subscribe button. All brought to you by the TeacherCast Educational Network. So to create your first Google site, there's two ways of starting that. You can go to sites.google.com/new. Or in Google Drive, you can click on the blue New button and drop down to More and click on Google Sites. Here I'm going to click on the plus button and it automatically opens up your brand new Google site. The first thing I'm going to do is to change my header. I'm going to click on here and I'm going to change the title of my website. Now you'll see that as soon as I did that, it drops onto two lines. We're going to click on these blue circles and extend this, and that's going to put my title on the same line. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a text box. There's two ways of doing that. The first way is to click on the text box here, and you can simply add text. The second way is to double-click anywhere on your canvas, and that brings up this little circle where you can add your text, embed, images, upload, or from Drive. I'm going to click on text. Next, we're going to add some images. There's many ways to add an image to your website. The easiest is by clicking on this image tab. Here, we have a few options. We can search for an image. We can also click on Your Albums, which is of course going to bring up everything in our Google Photos. You can see we've got a few different options here. Or we can click on Google Drive, and you can see we have another option here. Another way to add an image to our website is by simply grabbing an image off of our desktop and dragging it right onto the canvas. And you can see here we have this little button that says Drop Add, and as soon as I let go of my mouse, it automatically uploads the image and puts it right on our canvas. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to embed a Google Doc onto your Google site. Here we have a Google slide. Now, before we talk about embedding, we want to make sure that we check our shared settings. Over here, we want to click on our blue share, and we want to make sure that it's set right here to anyone with the link. If I click on advanced and then change, I can see that we have several settings here. You want to make sure that at least we have the second one down, if not the fourth one down. The fourth one, of course, is anybody in your school. And the second one down is anybody in the world who has the link can see it. If you don't have anything other than private here, you'll be able to see your document, but the world certainly won't. So I'm going to cancel this. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this link here, and I'm going to go back into my website. Now you'll see over here on the right, we've got all of these options. We've got docs, slides, sheets, forms, charts. Now, if I click on any of these, I can certainly add any of these types of Google documents. For instance, if I click on slides, I'm going to actually see this Google slide that we were just working on. Everything here is in reverse chronological order from most recent. But really, this is a filter. If I click on the X here, I can simply come over here, hit my Command or my Control V, and it automatically pulls the URL and embeds it from that Google Doc. And it shows up really nicely here. And if I need to, I can take this and I can drag it around anywhere on my website. The next thing I want to show you is the sharing and collaborating settings. It's important to notice that a Google site by default has two sides to it. It has an editing side, which we're looking at right now, and a publish side. We're going to get to the publishing in just a second, but right now we're going to take a look at this icon here, this share with others. Now, when we click on that, we have a few options. It says who has access. If I want to collaborate with somebody and give that other person specifically the ability to edit, I can add their email address down here, and then I can say, can view only the published or can edit. Over here, we have our draft. This is our traditional setting. On, anybody in our domain or anybody in our domain with the link. Now, I will tell you, if you don't want the world to edit your website, and I don't think you do, don't change this. Leave this here to off, only specific people. What many people do is they change this thinking that I want my website to be seen by the public. And what this really means is anybody on the internet can find your website and access it and edit it. And that's the important thing, and edit it. Don't do that. Make sure that everything is down here. I'm going to hit save. Now, this is a new feature that came in. This is published. Anybody here can find and view. Now, if I change that, I can say anybody can find and view the published version. Anybody in my domain can find the published version, or specific people. So most people aren't going to need to change this at all, but you would select this, for instance. Let's say that you were a teacher and you wanted to publish your website, but you only wanted to make it available to your students or the people in your school. You can certainly create your website and only have it published to the specific people in your neighborhood. So I'm going to leave this here, and I'm going to cancel out of this. So those are these shared settings. Again, only use this if you want to be having somebody else collaborate, meaning edit your website. Finally, when we're finished, we're going to click on the publish button here, and we're going to publish our site. This gives us a unique URL. If you are in a domain, an educational domain, for instance, it's always going to be sites.google.com/whatever your domain is, and then your individual page. And so, in other words, your page cannot be named the same thing as anybody else in your domain. If you're not in an EDU account, it's going to be sites.google.com/view. And then something else. So in other words, not everybody can have sites.google.com/view/home as an example. You're going to want to make sure that you have an individual name. If I put down here my awesome website, it's actually going to check to see that this name isn't here, sites.google.com/mydomain/myawesamewebsite, and it says you can use this, and then it allows you to publish. I'm not going to hit that right now, but that is how we publish our website. It's important to know that after we've published our website, you can come back here and you can edit anything that you need to, and then when you're finally ready for the world to see it, you can come back up here and click on publish. So as you can see, Google Sites is a fairly easy program to get up and running with. Here you can see I've added a few things. I've changed some text to it. I've moved some of the pictures around just to kind of give you an idea of some of the formatting things. There's, of course, several great resources out there on the web, including some on teachercast.net that you can check out, and including links to an entire Google website demo page that has hundreds of demonstrations and features and different things that you can do with the website. So check everything out over on teachercast.net/Google Sites demo. We'll, of course, make sure that you guys have the link to that. So on behalf of everybody here on TeacherCast, my name is Jeff Bradbury. Thank you so much for joining us today. Keep up the great work in your classrooms and continue sharing your passions with your students.
Okay, so I hope that that introduced how to set them up, and it gave you some information on some of the different tools and formatting that you can do when you're in Google Sites. One of the things that I really love about using Google Sites in my classroom is that it allows me to communicate with my students, parents, and even the community. I can include information like my syllabus, my calendar. I can post assignments or tutorial videos. I can also create Google Forms if I'm conducting a survey of my parents or of my students. And I can just keep everybody informed of what's coming up next. What's really exciting now that 6th through 12th grade students in SciFair can use Google Sites, that students are going to be able to create a portfolio of their personal work. And then they're also getting to share their ideas and their content and communicate with each other about their work. So the first thing that I want to show you is how you as the teacher or administrator can use it in your classroom or on your campus. Maybe. Oh, there we go. Okay, so there's several different ways that you can use it. One of the ways that we use it on our 7th grade language arts team, we have a team website that we use. And so we just use this to house different links and information. We have all the links to our own personal websites. So if I click on my Bitmoji, it takes you to my personal website. On my personal website, I've included a link back to the 7th grade website. And then I've also included the 8th grade website. I'm teaching a split this year, so I have both 7th and 8th grade students and parents, so it kind of helps me to house everything in one place. So I have that. So then if I click on that, it would take me to 8th grade website, where we've also included the links to our different websites. We've also included a calendar, the district calendar, as well as a calendar for our language arts classes, just so that parents are aware of progress reports and when our next tests are going to be and different things like that. If I go back over here, so you can see we each have our links to our different websites. This is Ms. Mittens, one of our other 7th grade teachers, and she's included different things on her website, information about her, information about books, and district links. Okay, I've done the same as well, just information about the class, my conference period, and a little information about myself, just to share. If I come back to our team website, we've also included just information about what's going on in our classes this week, and as well as the calendars. We also can include a page so that we can include our syllabus as well. So it's just a second page on the same website, but we've included our syllabus there as well, so there's easy access to it. Okay, so that's a couple of ways that you can use Google Sites as a teacher. Another way that I started using this year is using a newsletter. So I've been emailing, I usually email my parents every week. But this year, instead of just sending an email with a bunch of information, I've been putting the information on a Google site and just updating that site every week. So I've just included some information about me, supplies, things that we're doing in class that week. And it also has both grade levels that I teach, just so it's all, again, all housed in one place. I like this. I can just send out the link, or if parents already have the link, it's easy to access and find out what's going on. And I think it's a little bit more engaging instead of just an email with a bunch of information. The last thing well, two more things actually. One thing I want to share with you that our director of instruction is doing at our school at Salyers, that's new this year, is she's using a Google site as a weekly snapshot. So what's going on in our school. She actually posts this to Facebook and to our other social media as well, so that not only our parents and students know all the positive, great things going on in our school, but our community can be a part of that as well. And so she just includes pictures and separates it by grade level of what's going on with our students, what they're doing in class, and then what's coming up for them in the following week, information about our different sports. And so I just think it's a really great way to be able to share all the positive things going on in our schools and in our classrooms. And you're able to go back and see all of the past weeks as well. So if anybody missed anything, you're able to go back and see it. So it's just a great way to share what's going on. The last thing I wanted to share is how you can share not just what's going on like for the week or in that grade level or in that subject, but also in my class, we do a lot of blended learning and stations, and I know a lot of other schools are doing that as well. And so a lot of times I will include information from the different stations over the weeks here on this website as well. That way it's easily accessible to parents and students. I do put it on my Google Classroom, but this is just another place where they can find the links and the information. So I think teacher sites help us communicate with parents and students in the community. And there's a lot of information that you can include here. And I've seen different teachers and different administrators include different things and use it in really creative ways. And I am excited to see how other people are going to start using them as well. So that's how teachers can use them. I think the next thing that I want to talk to you about is how students can use them. I think it's really exciting this year that students are going to be able to publish their work. And so we have this ability to create student portfolios. Now, why do we want to do that? I think there's a few reasons why it's important that our students are publishing and sharing the things that they're working on. This has become really important to me over the last couple of years. I think when students are making, creating assignments just for their teacher, a lot of times they're doing it just to get whatever grade that they need. They're doing it to pass or to get a B or to get an A. But when they have a wider audience, they start to really care a little bit more about what they're doing and the effort they're putting in. we know through research that that creating relevance and choice and adding choice for our students are the two things that increase their achievement the most. So when they're writing for an audience and really having to showcase, or they're getting that opportunity to showcase their work, it's making it more relevant for them. And when they're getting a choice of how they're presenting that work, they're also going to buy in a little bit more, and it really creates student ownership. Not just for language arts. I think that we talk about writing a lot in language arts, but I think writing is one of those things that we use in every subject. And so as we're getting more and more tech savvy, I think we want our kids to also increase their own digital literacy and be able to write and explain their thinking in all of their different subjects and share that with others. So just to reiterate, when students are publishing, they're able to write for an authentic audience. It's really encouraging them to connect with each other and share their ideas. It's giving them choice, showcasing their writing, not just in language arts, but in all subjects. It can deepen their understanding of information, and they're able to get feedback from those around them. I will tell you, since I started having my students publish their work, there's this amazing thing that happens when they know other people, not just you, are going to see it. They really, the quality of what they want to put out there really dramatically increases. So I want to show you some examples. We just started, we have been getting started with Google Sites in my classroom over the last 2 or 3 weeks. So we're just kind of getting started and getting them all together and formatted. But I'm still really excited to show some of what the students have been doing, so that hopefully you can bring it back to your camp. So here's some examples. This is one of my 7th grade students. And so for her, we all started out with an About Me page, so that they could just tell me a little bit about themselves, share a little bit about who they are, the things that they really enjoy, and some of their goals that they have. Not just for 7th grade and 8th grade, but for high school and beyond high school. So we've shared, so she created that, and then we created this 7th grade page. And we created a folder. We embedded a folder with some of the work that she's been doing so far this year. As we go through the year, we could also include other pages. We could make a page by subject. We could have a language arts page, a history page, a Spanish page. We could just do a 7th grade, put them all in this folder that we've embedded. And then it will all show up there and be updated as she adds things to her Google Drive folder. And then that'll stay with them from 6th or 7th grade all the way through high school. They'll have this really awesome portfolio of all the work that they've done over the years. You can also add links to outside sites. So we have a link to our blogs that we're doing in my class. And so we have a link to those sites as well. So you can include both links and pages. On the pages, you can include, you can embed it in a folder from their Google Drive. You can include slideshows, pictures, and text. And then with the links, you're just linking to an outside website. So that's Eliza's. We've included I'll just explain what we've included here. This is a Flipgrid video talking about parts of speech. This is, they were looking at the setting of The Outsiders that we just finished reading. And then this was a writing sample, I believe from her 6th grade year, but she wanted to include it in her portfolio. If I can just show you a couple more examples. This is Kimberly's, and she's just included some information about herself. She formatted hers a little bit differently, but she also included information about her and her goals and things that are important to her. She's also included a folder that's her Flipgrid about parts of speech this year, and then an 11-minute essay. And then she also has a link to her outside blog. So when I started with the students, when I started introducing this to them, since we only have a limited amount of Chromebooks in our classroom, I usually will set it up with them in a small group. So the students that are in my teaching station that day is when we're kind of going through all of this together. I think it's good to set it up with them the first time because it is a lot of little steps. And just learning these different tools, and they need just a little help walking through some of that. This is the template that we used at our school, just to show students kind of what it could look like, things that they could include, how we wanted them to set it up with their name and everything. In the corner here, we have different pages. We have, for this one, they have writing samples, response to literature, videos, and podcast. So you can really get creative, however you want to set them up for your class. If you want them to all have the same pages, if you want to let them choose what they're including in their portfolio, you can do that as well. So one of the things is writing portfolios. That's one of the ways students can use them in the classroom, being able to really showcase their work. It also is a great place to kind of house all of this information. A lot of times my students, when they're working on these different pieces in class, they'll go just to their Google site, and then they know that they can access anything that's in that drive that they've been working on in that folder. They can access that there. They can access their blog there. And so it's a nice place to house links to the different tools and pieces of technology that they're using as well. Another way that students can use it is by using it to create projects. I found a couple of different examples of this. This one was a project about World War II, so this could be used in a history class. And so the teacher gave their task and then some information that will help them complete that task, and then a rubric as well. And so when they're working on this, they can work on it from here and then just type in their task in a doc and include it in their folder, which would automatically upload to their Google site if you've embedded that folder. This is another one that I saw. And this one was actually a student created. So the first one was a teacher created task or project. This one was a student created project. So students can really use it to showcase their writing, to create a portfolio of all of their work, and even to create projects for different classes. I think that it's really great for language arts for reading and writing to showcase their stuff. I think history does a lot of projects and amazing things with it. A lot of my students have projects from math and from science and from their foreign language classes that they had in their Google Drive, and asked if they could put it on their Google site as well. So because they were really proud of it and wanted to share it with other people. So I think that that can be a really great way for students to start publishing their work and sharing with others, and really starting that conversation. I think that's about all that I have for you. Yeah, I think that's about all that I have for you. If you have any questions for me as you're starting to set up Google Sites, I'm really happy to help.
Hey, Courtney, I have a couple of questions for
Sure.
you. So you talked about students taking, showcasing their work. And I think that's really important, right? Because we have, even when adults do that, when they realize that it's going to go out there live for everyone, they're going to take a little bit more ownership. They're going to put a little bit more effort into it, right? So have you seen that where, with your students? I mean, can you talk just a little bit more about what kind of effort you've been seeing from your students versus other times when they're just writing on paper and not really putting that, they know that they're going to turn it into the teacher's going to grade it, give it back to them, or file it, or whatever they're going to do. Can you talk a little bit about maybe what you're hearing from the students?
Absolutely. So one of the first things that I hear from them is they kind of have this panic look on their face, like, wait, who's going to read this? What's happening? But then I've noticed if I gave them the same assignment and asked them to do it with pen and paper, they might write, a couple of sentences. They're not as concerned about their grammar or their punctuation or their capitalization marks. And when they have to put it on a website and they're sharing it with other people, and they know that their classmates are reading it, that other teachers may be reading it, that their parents may be reading it, they really start to ask more questions of me. Wait, do I need to capitalize this? Oh, does this sound okay? And I hear them having those conversations, not only asking me those questions, but having those conversations with each other too, kind of checking each other's work before they publish it.
Wow, that's really great. Are they able to, through Google Sites, or maybe you're using the blogs to do this, are they able to comment on each other and on each other's work and go from there?
In Google Sites, it's not currently set up for the commenting, but they can go in if they've shared a document in their folder, and they've made that accessible to everybody. They are able to comment inside those actual assignments. So if they have a document in a folder that they've embedded on their website, and they've made sure that they've shared it with anybody that has the link, and they are able to then go in and read that person's document and add a comment. Yes.
I'm curious, are any students maybe working on their writing at home or on their free time, and not necessarily just when they're in class with you?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of students, we're just kind of getting this going this year, but I've definitely had a lot of students asking me, oh, can I work on this at home as well? So I definitely think that they're eager and excited to work on it.
And that, I mean, one of the things that we're always dealing with, right, is getting homework done and
Yeah.
that. But I mean, that really speaks to what you were saying earlier, that when they are writing for an authentic audience, that they're going to take a little bit more ownership into it. And that's really great, right? So any specific students that you can think about that just the lights came on, or they just really got excited, they're taking this even further than what you're doing here in in the classroom?
Well, the two that I showed their sites, I was really impressed because I had just given them very basic instructions. Hey, tell me a little bit about yourself and the goals that you have. And so I really made it pretty broad when I gave them those instructions, and they really took off with it. And that was really exciting. I've also had a lot of boys that maybe their handwriting is not always the best. And so in the past, when I've had them do pencil and paper assignments, they're hesitant to really engage in that assignment. But now that their handwriting isn't going to be as much of an issue, I've seen them putting in a lot more effort and really taking ownership of that.
That's great. I mean, yeah, I mean, you're making that opportunity for students to really show what they know about writing and those writing skills, and really get that out there instead of just focusing on the writing aspect and being shy about getting that out there. That's really cool. So talk to us a little bit about some of the things maybe that you had to process through. So if there's a teacher out there who's wanting to start to, they want to implement this in their classroom, what kinds of things did you process through, maybe with your team, things to get this started?
So we talked a lot about what we wanted students to include and how we were going to do that. We're still in that process of talking about how to set it up and what that was going to look at. We do and I think that's probably true across the district, we're not one-to-one. So how are we going to make that work in our classroom, and what's that going to look like? Because we want them working on this every week or every couple of weeks, being able to add to their Google sites and add to their portfolios. And so we've had to talk a lot about the structure of our classroom and how we're going to set that up, what students are going to be working on that, which days. For me, so far, I've been keeping that in my teacher group every week. So that means I have 8 kids with me on Tuesday, 8 kids with me on Wednesday, 8 on Thursday, 8 on Friday. And I'm really getting to focus on helping those 8 kids set up everything and get started. And I think that it's kind of getting to where now they don't need me quite as much. So I'm hoping that in the next few weeks, I can kind of put that more on them and let them kind of go a little bit.
Yeah, well, you build that into them, and they are able to take that, and then that small group, that mini lesson that you're able to pull students to, you're able to take them further. You're able to go to another skill that they need to focus on. So that's great, a great way to process that through. Let me ask you, have you had any hiccups? Have you had any issues other than the 8 devices? And it looks like you're working through that. You got the stations going, and that's good. But are there any other hiccups? There might be some teachers like, wait a minute, I don't want my students out there on the web, those types of things. Well, have you worked through any of those hiccups?
Yes. So one of those, I actually had a hiccup this morning as I was getting this site together, because you do have to make sure when you go in and you always check those privacy settings. That's a really important part of it. So you make sure that you're not sharing with everybody on the web, but also making sure that you're sharing it to where if you share that link with somebody, everybody's able to view it. Or if you're not ready to share it, making sure you've adjusted that privacy. So we have had to work through that. We've also talked a lot about internet safety and trying to not put too much personal information out there, and kind of talking through that with kids. And so I think that's still a process that we're working through, and that it will always be a conversation that we're having.
I'm really happy to hear that you're talking about that security and that safety, because the fact is that we are now in a digital world, and making sure that our students not only know the negatives about it, but how to do it successfully, how to navigate it, because technology is going to be with us, forever. So that's great that you're able to handle that and go through that with the students. So I'm really glad to hear you doing that. Where do you see this going? Where do you see, when you're looking at the end of the year, where do you see this all culminating?
I would love to see them sharing with each other. I don't know exactly what that looks like yet, but really having like this full portfolio of all the work that they've done in 7th grade, not just in language arts, but in all of their classes, and having that, all right there on their site and sharing it with each other and giving each other feedback. I think that's kind of where I see it at the end of this school year. And my hope for them is that it continues through the years, and then when they're applying to colleges in their junior and senior year of high school, that they have a wealth of information that they can use to do that with.
Yeah, how great would it be to be able to draw from your senior year of high school, be able to draw from things that you were doing in middle school, and be able to share those things. That's great to be able to do that.
Absolutely. All
right, so I appreciate you taking time with us. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us concerning Google Sites, or what you're doing? Any last little bit of information?
No, just be creative. Let your kids be creative. Yeah.
All right, that's good. That's important, to be creative and get everything done that they need to get done, but build those creative juices inside of them.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Thank you so much, Courtney, for sharing your journey through Google Sites with us. Well, we really do appreciate it.
Sure, thank you.
All right, you have a good one. All right, everyone. Hey, I think that's about it. It's about a wrap for this CFISD EdTech Live. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. There's been a lot of you I know that have been with us since we started at 9 o'clock with a little bit of hiccups, but then we really started going strong. And I think we finished out in a very positive, in a strong way. You got a lot of PD. Remember, those, you're going to see, if you're in CFIR, you're going to get your hours next week. They're going to show up next week. And if you're getting certificates and things like that, that will be next week as well. But those will be coming. So before we close out, I want to let you know that we do have one more Twitter challenge. And so it is posted on Twitter already. And you can go to CFISD EdTech Live and go there and listen to the Twitter challenge, and then participate in that. Again, there are some really great prizes that you can win, and we'd love for you to be able to be a part of that. Don't forget to like our video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and don't forget to follow us on Twitter at CFISD EdTech. CFISD EdTech, right? And be there. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and bring in the rest of the team. We're going to go ahead and end it here. And so this is the team that's been behind the scenes working. All right, there we go. Guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us. We will see you next time.
Bye.
Great job, everybody.